Chapter 320. Woo! The Dark Moon Boa screamed. Lin Feng's full-powered attack was extremely powerful. If it was an ordinary high-level demon beast, this attack alone would be enough to kill it. The Dark Moon Boa was indeed worthy of being one of the best demon beasts. It had 2 layers of holy chi protecting its body, and with its innate ability, it actually took Lin Feng's attack head-on. Sizzle, sizzle. On its forehead, the Dark Moon Boa was extremely bright. As the Dark Moon Boa was injured, it became more and more strange, as if it could absorb the essence of heaven and earth. Almost instantly, Lin Feng's expression changed. Not good. Lin Feng's heart ached as he felt the loss of life energy. Roar! A strong dragon roar resounded, and the corrosive energy in his body was instantly suppressed by the true dragon's saint power. Spiritual energy covered his entire body. Lin Feng's gaze fell on the furious Dark Moon Boa in the sea, and he felt a little unwilling and helpless. He knew very well that with his current strength, he could not defeat the Dark Moon Boa. It's too fast. If only I had more time, when I perfectly learned the 7th level of the 9 Dragon scripture, the result could be changed. The slightest difference could lead to a great error. But reality was like this, and there were no ifs. Lin Feng jumped up, resisting the strong burden on his body caused by the 4th level of the titanium gray body. He gritted his teeth, and his face was pale. Outside, there was the corrosion of the dark holy chi, life energy absorption, and inside, there was the pressure of the 4th level of the titanium gray body. Lin Feng only had the power for one attack. If he did not succeed, there was only one way out. Run! Sizzle! Sizzle! The dark holy chi strongly bound and corroded Lin Feng, and the Dark Moon Boa roared furiously from below, resisting with spiritual energy. But today, Lin Feng did not need to rely on anything else. He could break free with his own strength and speed. Swoosh! The flying sword flew past. Lin Feng fled in an instant. Rumble! Rumble! The waves surged, and the power of the ocean's holy chi was astonishing. Lin Feng stepped on the flying sword. As fast as a meteor, a figure appeared on the sea in front of him like the wind. Upon closer inspection, it was an identical Lin Feng. The 2 Lin Fengs crossed each other. One of them stepped on a flying sword and soared into the sky, while the other's feet flashed with a bright blood-red color. The Bloodwalker's boots moved like the wind. Li Jixing, with the holy chi of wind, his control over the Bloodwalker's boots was just like Lin Feng's strengthening of the 9 Serenity's Thunderblade. Unparalleled, he activated the powers. Li Jixing didn't even need to use his own wind Saint Chi. He moved with the wind and walked on the sea as if it was flat ground. With a flash of light in his hand, Li Jixing was just about to unleash the 6-pulse divine sword when he saw the Dark Moon Python rushing towards him with bloodshot eyes. Li Jixing was stunned. He swiftly put away the 6-pulse divine sword, and then his figure flashed as he directly turned around and left. Brother Lin's ability to attract hatred is truly extraordinary. Li Jixing smiled. However, he was not in a hurry and left at lightning speed. In terms of combat strength, he was indeed not as good as Lin Feng or Lin Zhan. Sharjah, but in terms of dodging and moving in a small area, no one could compare to him. Now that he had the Wind Holy Chi and the Bloodwalker's boots, he was even more powerful. A monster is a monster. In terms of intelligence, they are indeed much worse than humans. Moving like a gentle breeze, Li Jixing's movement technique fully displayed the profoundness of wave-like, subtle steps. The Bloodwalker's boots could exert its true power on him. Like the incarnation of wind, Li Jixing's current speed was not inferior to Lin Feng's. Smack! Lin Feng landed on the clouds. Stepping on the flying sword, he looked down and did not leave immediately. Although he was very confident in this plan, there were still risks. If Li Jixing was in danger, he could not stand by and do nothing. Fortunately, everything went according to plan. The only pity was he still could not defeat the Dark Moon Viper and only injured it slightly. At least there is progress. Lin Feng was not discouraged. His eyes fell on the direction where Li Jixing had fled. Although the distance was very far, the direction was clear. It was not Huaxia. It was a country. It's time for them to have a taste of this. Lin Feng smiled indifferently. Ancient Huaxia is facing a great calamity. I have to let this good neighbor help share a little. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. The red lightning appeared in front of him in an instant, like a red lightning bolt. Lin Feng jumped in and turned around in an instant, heading straight for ancient Huaxia. He still had a mission. For holy treasures, the matching holy chi was very important. For example, the fire scale, Saint Robe's basic defense, was only level. It was a primary holy treasure, but with the Crimson Fire Holy Chi, its defense could be upgraded from a primary holy treasure to an intermediate holy treasure. Judging from the endurance of the gold robe, it could be upgraded by 2 levels at most. If the Crimson Fire Holy Chi could reach the 2nd or 3rd level, the Fire Scale Saint Robe could reach the highest level of holy treasure. Not to mention the 9U Thunderblade. The Bloodwalker's boots on Lin Feng's body was used to increase speed and escape. However, in just a moment of blood, he lost 1/10 of his blood. It was quite cruel. It was destined that the Bloodwalker's boots could not be used often. In terms of function, it should be an intermediate holy treasure. However, if it had the holy chi of wind, like Li Jixing's Bloodwalker's boots, it would be a true advanced holy treasure. It was definitely worth it. Holy chi, holy treasure, this is true power. Li Jixing galloped on the surface of the sea like an ethereal gust of wind. Behind him, the dark moon serpent was furious, but like a lion pouncing on a mosquito, it only pounced on Li Jixing's afterimage or the illusory wind. The dark moon serpent was even more furious. Roar, roar. Gathering the monsters in the Pacific region, the dark moon serpent only had that damn human left. He provoked him again and again, running away after fighting. The dark moon serpent wanted to swallow him in one bite. However, his talent of life absorption was blocked every time. No matter how close he was, it couldn't work, let alone now. He couldn't even catch a shadow. The dark moon serpent probably wouldn't have thought that the human he was chasing, he had long been replaced by a leopard cat. Lin Feng was rushing back. For ancient Huaxia, the real disaster was the beast tide, not the dark moon serpent. A single dark moon serpent was not scary. What was scary was the endless beast tide. 157 annihilation level monsters, more than 3,000 sea king level monsters, and more than 50,000 wild level monsters. A real disaster. Once the defense was breached, ancient Huaxia would no longer exist. Even if these monsters reached the land and their combat strength was reduced, their numbers were still 100 times that of Huaxia's warriors. Not to mention, with their ability, they could launch a real tsunami disaster attack and turn the land into an ocean. Everyone, wait a little longer. Lin Feng sat cross-legged on the red lightning. Whoosh! He instantly consumed the heaven-level treasure and entered a state of cultivation to recover his strength at the fastest speed. I'll be there soon. This time, we will face the threat of the Pacific monsters. Cut them all off. Lin Feng's eyes were bright, luring the tiger away from the mountain. This time, he was going to start a massacre. Chapter 321. Ancient Huaxia. The war between the humans and the sea monsters was in full swing. The Dongwu region's first line of defense, particle laser beams and nuclear cannons fired without any regard for energy. Huge nuclear bombs fell from the sky one after another, and cruise missiles kept aiming and attacking. This was the cruelest war. It was a fight to the death, and there was no reason to talk about it. Race war. Among them, the ones who led the charge and fought the most ferociously and killed the most monsters were the 2 gold saints, Sharjah and Lin Zhan. This was especially so for Lin Zhan. If one were to say that Lin Feng had gained the most from this trip to the Saint Remains Pyramid, then Lin Zhan's gains would definitely be ranked second. Not only did he obtain the Sandstorm Holy Energy, but he also comprehended the sand profound meaning in the Golden Secret Room. Although it was just a normal, true derivation profound meaning, it could perfectly merge with the Sandstorm Holy Energy. Profound meaning, sand trap. Lin Zhan attacked. Instantly, An annihilation-level monster fell into the trap. Endless yellow sand gathered the power of sand and buried it alive. It was a clean kill. Lin Zhan's full power was not inferior to Sharja's. Heavenly Wheel Seal. Sharja's forehead shone with starlight. The god of the Twin Trees Garden was once the strongest person on earth. His power was like a beautiful scenery. Under the wind and clouds, the monsters fell one by one. The two of them were not injured. Not only did they have the defense of the Gold Saint Garment, but their power was also above the legend level. However, they would be exhausted after a long battle, especially when the sea monsters were like locusts. Batch after batch, they charged forward. If the Dark Moon Serpent didn't give the order, they wouldn't stop attacking. Retreat! Lin Zhan's face was pale as he shouted. He and Sharja brought up the rear. They fought against all the sea monsters with their own power and protected the others from retreating. These were all strong men. They were heroes who protected their country. They would save as many as they could. To Lin Zhan and Sharja, it was just a consumption of power. Roar, boom, rumble. The sea monsters were already furious. In a short battle, the number of their companions that died far exceeded the number of humans. How could they retreat now? Waves came crashing down. The sea monsters chased after them relentlessly. A large number of monsters rushed to the shore. The scene was terrifying. Boom, boom. Lin Zhan and Sharja unleashed their last attack. Then, the two of them looked at each other and nodded, although he was a little reluctant. But that was how war was. There were gains and losses. The first line of defense had been abandoned. He's here. They're finally here. Good job. With the military at the lead, the righteous marshal personally led the Chinese elites to take charge of the second defensive line. They shouldered the heaviest responsibility. Get ready, Zhou Jingyi shouted, gazing into the distance. As the two golden silhouettes sped over, a sea of raging waves rose behind them. Countless sea monsters charged over. All of them had ferocious looks on their faces, like demons and ghosts. Their eyes were bloodshot from the battle, and they had lost their minds. Whoosh! Step! Lin Zhan and Sharja dashed into the defense line. In a split-second fire, Zhou Jingyi shouted. The power of technological weapons was revealed. Level, level, level. The most elite technological weapons in all of China were gathered here. Although they could not be compared to a country, they were not inferior in terms of numbers. Moreover, Huaxia's warriors were not afraid of death and were united as one. The first line of defense had two powerhouses overseeing it. But now, the second line of defense could only rely on the Chinese elites, their bodies, and technological weapons to defend. Lin Zhan and Sharja needed to recover their strength and prepare for the next round of battle. The difference in numbers was too great, so they had to seize every minute and second. The Pacific Ocean was in a frenzy. The surface of the ocean was completely occupied by ferocious monsters. Sea monsters kept climbing up to the shore, as a monster army charged towards the second line of defense. But none of the monsters noticed that a bolt of red lightning had appeared above their heads. Red lightning. Lin Feng was here. Ha! The red lightning stopped. Lin Feng, who was entrenched in the red lightning, opened his eyes. Light flashed. Target location arrived. The red lightning's voice sounded. In a split second, Lin Feng had disappeared. Without wasting any time, Lin Feng jumped out of the red lightning. With a thought, a flying sword appeared under his feet and flew past like a shooting star. Clang! The nine-nether thunder blade lit up and activated the power of thunder and lightning. Lin Feng's figure lit up the sky. The third move of the purple thunder blade technique, Thunder Hell. Lin Feng didn't even need to control the blade. When the blade fell, it turned into thousands of blade auras and killed hundreds and thousands of monsters. The blade energy filled the sky and thunder rumbled. It was as if the gates of hell had opened. Boom! Endless killing. The power of the nine-nether thunderblade as a high-level holy treasure was unleashed at this moment. For example, Li Jixing could use the Bloodwalker's boots to activate the power of wind. The nine-nether thunderblade could activate the power of thunder on its own. Its attack power was extremely strong. Together with Lin Feng's blade technique and physical fitness, it could be said to be invincible. Perhaps it couldn't cause any damage to powerful monsters like the Darkmoon Viper, but it was more than enough to deal with ordinary Sea King-level monsters. Where the blade energy gathered, even Annihilation monsters couldn't escape death. The consumption of energy was extremely low. The second line of defense was fighting head-on. Lin Feng, on the other hand, had dug a huge hole in the center of the sea monsters and forcefully cut off the monster horde. Fight! Lin Feng's eyes were red with killing. He was truly invincible. With Lin Feng's participation, not only did the pressure on the second line of defense decrease, but also gave Lin Zhan and Sharjah more time to rest and recover. In terms of efficiency in killing sea monsters, Lin Zhan and Sharjah combined were not even half of Lin Feng's. Why do I feel like the monster army is weak? Yes, and these sea monsters are irritable and uneasy. Something seems to have happened. They are not as fierce as before. In the second line of defense, everyone was curious. Suddenly, a loud and clear voice rang out, causing everyone's eyes to light up as they became extremely excited. Good news. The satellite image in front is here. Alliance leader Lin Shang has returned. He is in the center of the monster army. He fought against hundreds of thousands of monsters alone. He has killed more than 10,000 monsters. The sea has been dyed red. Boom! The news exploded like a bomb. Instantly, the powerhouses in the second line of defense went crazy as if they had been injected with stimulants. With sabers and swords in their hands, under the protection of technological weapons, the powerhouses' killing intent was boiling. They were like a twisted hemp rope that was unbreakable. Let's kill them. Yes, we can't let Alliance leader Lin Shang fight alone. Kill them all. Their fighting spirit was completely unleashed. Two golden figures suddenly appeared behind them. They were Lin Zhan and Sharjah, who had recovered some of their strength. Especially Lin Zhan. When he saw that his younger brother had returned safely, he was full of energy. He was like a roaring lion that charged into the monster army. Kill. Chapter 322. 157 Annihilation-level monsters were all annihilated. The outbreak of the second beast tide was shocking, but it would end soon. It was equally shocking. From the beginning to the end, it took less than 6 hours. The sea monsters suppressed ancient Huaxia with 10 times more combat power, but they were defeated without bloodshed. The entire Dongwu region smelled bad. It was full of bloody fog that didn't disperse for a long time. The corpses of the sea monsters were piled up like mountains. The entire sea water was dyed red. Victory! Ancient Huaxia withstood the pressure. The key figure was naturally Lin Feng. He destroyed the entire beast tide by himself. More than half of the Annihilation-level monsters died in Lin Feng's hands. The Sea King-level monsters were even harder to count. From the beginning to the end, Lin Feng was almost completely numb. We won! We won! Long live Ancient Huaxia! On the battlefield, cheers were endless. In this beast tide war, the number of deaths in Ancient Huaxia was much lower than expected. Compared to the number of sea monsters that died, it was less than 1%. This was a glorious victory. They once again defended Ancient Huaxia in the wind and rain. However, Lin Feng wasn't among the cheering crowd. Hey, where did Alliance leader Lin Shang go? Yi Fan looked around and found Lin Zhan. Yeah, we haven't seen Alliance leader Lin Shang since just now. Han Fei was also confused. He looked around like Yi Fan. Although the beast tide was over, there were still many things in the Elemental Commerce Alliance that were pending. They didn't dare to make decisions casually. My brother has something to do. Lin Zhan smiled and said, he asked me to tell everyone that everything will continue as usual. Ask Alliance leader Su Ku internally and ask Alliance leader Yi Fan externally. Yi Fan and Han Fei looked at each other and nodded blankly. Lin Zhan smiled. Don't worry, it's okay. Lin Zhan patted the two of them on their shoulders and left immediately. A bright light flashed in his eyes, which were like those of a lion. He knew what his brother was busy with. The burden on his brother's shoulders was very heavy. The war wasn't over yet. The beast tide was only the first step. The source didn't stop, and the flames of war wouldn't stop. Lin Feng was very clear about this. The Dark Moon Python was like a ticking time bomb that that could explode at any moment. Nine Dragons Sutra, Level 7. Lin Feng began his training on the Scarlet Lightning as he flew towards Elemental City. The beast tide had erupted too quickly. He was still exploring the 7th stage of the Nine Dragon Scripture. Even though his talent soul was already at the 6th stage, the 7th stage of the Nine Dragon Scripture was already at the Super Heaven rank. In ancient Huaxia, there were indeed quite a few Super Heaven ranked Heart Sutras. But those who have truly cultivated to this level, not a single one. Country, Ministry of Defense. Dozens of technicians were operating extremely sophisticated machines with their fingers as if they were flying, operating them to the limit. The screen was broadcasting the chaos of the beast tide live. The image was very clear. However, as they watched, the gloating expressions on the experts' faces turned into shock and horror. Previously, when the beast tide had erupted, they had cheered and jumped for joy, extremely excited. Who would have thought that such a terrifying beast tide would be wiped out by ancient Huaxia? It was too shocking. Is this Lin Feng even human? He's a monster, a real monster. 157 Annihilation class monsters. 315 Sea King level monsters were all killed. The strength of ancient Huaxia is too terrifying. It's no wonder we lost him. The experts still had lingering fear in their hearts. They knew very well that with the strength of the country, even if their technological capabilities were better than Huaxia's, they would definitely not be able to resist this terrifying beast tide. Damn it! A furious voice rang out, like thunder in a dry land. In an instant, the experts in the Ministry of National Defense held their breaths. They did not dare to speak. It was a half-human, half-machine monster. His appearance could be vaguely seen. It was the nuclear bomb commander who had been severely injured by Lin Feng and almost died. Now his appearance had changed greatly. Lin Feng, the nuclear bomb commander, gritted his teeth. Hatred filled the sky. He couldn't wait to tear Lin Feng into pieces. If it wasn't for Lin Feng's appearance, how could he have made such a mess? He almost could have unified the world. Don't be so smug, Huaxia kid. The nuclear bomb commander's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. He snorted coldly. The country has the strongest technology, the Bermuda Triangle. On Earth, it's difficult to break through the limits of the body and strength with only the first cosmic energy. But mechanical technology is different. Just you wait. Next time, I will let you know who the real winner is. It's me, the nuclear bomb commander. It's me. The nuclear bomb commander's face was ferocious. Suddenly, the Ministry of National Defense's alarm rang. The nuclear bomb commander frowned and looked over. "Oh no, Commander," the technician said in shock. "It's Lin Feng. What is he doing here? My God, behind him, what kind of monster is that?" The nuclear bomb commander's eyes widened in anger. Seeing Lin Feng and the lion dragon-like monster behind him, he was abnormally furious. There was a dark crescent moon on his forehead that was shining at this moment. The nuclear bomb commander opened his mouth slightly, and it became wider and wider. Suddenly, his body trembled violently. He roared furiously, "Lin Feng, I'm going to kill you." Huff, huff, Li Jixing's face was slightly pale. He had used up a lot of energy. Although he had the holy wind chi in the Bloodwalker's boots, rushing all the way from the Pacific Ocean to the border of China was really tiring. Not to mention, there was a monster chasing after him all the time. He was different from Lin Feng. He did not have strong offensive and defensive power. If he was careless and was caught by the Dark Moon Viper, he would be dead. "Brother Lin, you have finally completed your mission this time." Li Jixing smiled. In front of him, the country's defense system was set up. Sparticle laser beams, various turrets, and nuclear power guns were all aimed, flashing red light. "Oh," Li Jixing smiled. "Your reaction is quite fast. Fire." In the distance, the voice of the country's foundation warriors was heard giving orders. In an instant, countless laser beams and electric shocks exploded in an instant, covering the entire area like an inescapable net. However, technological weapons were useless against a legend rancor, not to mention Li Jixing, who was the best at dodging and teleporting. Their attack speed was not even one-third of his usual training speed. It was too easy to dodge. However, Li Jixing smiled strangely, but his body appeared right in front of the Dark Moon Viper. In an instant, countless attacks were focused on him, but Li Jixing was like a whirlwind sweeping away the clouds and disappeared in an instant. A series of powerful attacks landed on the Dark Moon Centipede's body, instantly infuriating the high-level demonic beast. Before this, he had been kite for a full day and night. Roar! The Dark Moon Viper exploded in anger. The holy ocean chi instantly caused a tsunami to roar and the earth to shake violently. With blood-red eyes, although the Dark Moon Viper did not find Li Jixing's position, it had already rushed to the country's defense system. This time, he could finally vent his anger. Chapter 323. The country was in trouble. In terms of technological ability, they were indeed better than Huaxia, but in the face of absolute power, technology was just a decoration. The city defense that exceeded the level was directly corroded by the dark holy energy of the Dark Moon Roar. The laser missiles dimmed in the endless roar of the waves. The power of nature, the power that exceeded the extinction level. The genetic powerhouses of the country fought one after another, but they were not enough to fill the gaps between the Dark Moon Roar's teeth. The angry Dark Moon Roar not only drove the waves to attack, but also summoned another group of sea monsters to follow him to the coastline to search for traces of Lin Feng. However, Li Jixing had already slipped away. With his current speed, even Lin Feng would find it difficult to find him, let alone the Dark Moon Roar that lacked intelligence. In the eyes of humans, sea monsters were not much different. In the eyes of monsters, humans were the same. The country had become a scapegoat. The roar of the Dark Moon Roar resounded throughout the entire country. Beautiful. After hearing the news, Lin Feng was refreshed. Even he might not be able to do it as well as Li Jixing. It was almost perfect. Not only did he shift the blame to the east wall, but he also had enough time to cultivate and break through. As for the country, it was the cycle of nature. People were in high spirits when they were happy. Moreover, the pressure from the outside world was like a whip that whipped Lin Feng, making him keep moving forward. Pressure could often unleash potential. On the third day of seclusion, Lin Feng successfully operated the 7th level of the 9-Dragon Scripture for the first time. In addition to the 4 days of hard cultivation before the beast-tide outbreak, Lin Feng had a new breakthrough in just 7 days of cultivation. The efficiency was twice as fast as expected. It's the soul of the earth that connects the 5 martial spirits in the body into a line. Lin Feng was very clear. This was the absolute key, the 9-Dragon Scripture. It was a cycle formed with the meridians as the foundation and the meridians as the foundation. Now that the meridians of the martial spirits in the body were connected, it was much easier to control. It was as if he only needed to control one point when he originally needed to control 5 martial spirits. For example, the management of the Elemental Commerce Alliance. Lin Feng now handed over full authority to Yi Fan and Su Ke. He only needed to control a general direction. On May 3rd, Lin Feng grasped the initial stage of the 7th stage of the 9-Dragon Scripture. May 5th, Lin Feng practiced his cultivation. May 8th, make a formal declaration the 7th stage of the 9-Dragon Sutra had been successfully cultivated. Although he was still unable to cultivate at his fastest speed, he was about 70 to 80% efficient. If he wanted to cultivate and absorb it perfectly, he needed not only comprehension, but also perseverance and patience. Every time he cultivated and used it, his cultivation speed would naturally become faster and faster. At this time, it was the 10th day since the Dark Moon Stallion landed in the country. He swept the entire country into chaos. It was too horrible to look at. Of course, this had nothing to do with Lin Feng. 9-Dragon Sutra, level 7. The 7 dragons behind Lin Feng roared, spiraling like the scorching sun. The rising sun was even brighter. The 2nd stage of the True Dragon Saint Power boosted the cultivation efficiency of the 7th stage of the 9-Dragon Scripture by 5 times. It was incomparably shocking. This is holy qi. Lin Feng could clearly feel the changes in heaven and earth. That was the powerful energy contained in the energy of heaven and earth. It cannot be seen or touched, but it could be clearly felt. Gold, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, thunder, clouds, rain, fog. The energy of holy qi contained various compositions of heaven and earth. Swoosh! It flowed into his body bit by bit. It was extremely subtle. Lin Feng blended into heaven and earth. Light. Regarding holy qi, Lin Feng wanted to obtain the most now was undoubtedly the holy qi of light. But the induction was not strong. In fact, the induction of all elements was not strong, except for flame and thunder. Lin Feng understood. He had the blue thunder holy qi and the red fire holy qi. With holy qi, cultivation was naturally twice the result with half the effort, and the absorption was also faster. Moreover, the light here seems to be very weak. Lin Feng had this thought. The same holy qi could be strong or weak. For example, his red fire holy qi was much stronger than the fire in the flaming wheel channel in the Shiva sect's holy temple. Another example was Senior Xiang Yu's purple thunder holy qi. It was stronger than his blue thunder holy qi, and the blue thunder holy qi was more powerful than ordinary thunder holy qi. I can give you the first grade holy qi of light. Directly condense it into a cyclone. Lin Feng remembered what the black-robed lion man had said to him in the pyramid of sacred remains. He understood that holy qi was divided into grades, and the first grade was probably very good. I'm afraid the light here is much weaker than the first grade. Lin Feng did not dwell on this issue, because even if he absorbed the energy of light without holy qi, it would take a long time to condense it. It was better to strengthen the existing holy qi. The difference between the first grade and the second grade was huge. The true dragon holy power was the best description. My blue thunder holy qi is only a hair's breadth away from the second grade. If I can improve it, my attack power will be greatly improved. This was Lin Feng's goal. The blue thunder holy qi, the 9 serenity thunderblade, and the purple thunderblade technique were the strongest attacks he could currently use. Thunder aptitude, superior. Fire aptitude, barely above average. The difference between the two was 5 times. Lin Feng knew very well, so he did not intend to cultivate the red fire holy qi. However, many things did not go according to one's wishes. Reality was often cruel. One could cultivate one type of holy qi alone, or choose to cultivate several types at the same time. Of course, the sum was actually the same, determined by the quality of the incantation. The cultivation of multiple types of holy qi required 2, 3, or even 4 types of holy qi at the same time. The efficiency of cultivation was probably a mess. And it was also limited by the incantation. No wonder the 9-dragon scripture had blazing qi early on. It's a fire-type incantation. After cultivating it, Lin Feng could easily distinguish between the red fire holy qi and the blue thunder holy qi. The cultivation speed of the red fire holy qi was 3 times that of the blue thunder holy qi. One had to know that his thunder aptitude was 5 times that of his fire aptitude. Even so, Lin Feng did not change his original intention. Let's cultivate thunder first. Lin Feng nodded. Although the cultivation speed of the red fire holy qi was 3 times that of the blue thunder holy qi, the blue thunder holy qi was still very close to the second level. In terms of attack power and compatibility with a 9 serenity thunderblade, the red fire holy qi was no match for the blue thunder holy qi. May 15th. In 7 days, Lin Feng had broken through to the second level of the blue thunder holy qi. The second level of cosmic energy on Earth is indeed poor. Lin Feng thought to himself. His thunder holy qi was only a little bit away from the second level, but it took him 7 days. As for the red fire holy qi, according to the cultivation speed of the blue thunder holy qi, it would take at least half a year to reach the second level. The gap is too big. Lin Feng shook his head. He did not know if it did not compare, but when he did, he was shocked. In the ancient divine realm, he cultivated casually without the holy qi incantation. Not only did he obtain the Blue Thunder Holy Chi, but he also improved it to the 2nd level. If he had the incantation of the 7th level of the Nine-Dragon scripture, he estimated that the Blue Thunder Holy Chi would have reached the 3rd level in the blink of an eye. And the 5th level of the man-made pyramid was almost one of the best cultivation places on Earth. His cultivation speed was still too horrible to look at. I wonder what Planet Nemo will be like. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Chapter 324. Another half a month had passed. The country had long been reduced to ruins. It was hard to imagine that this used to be the most technologically advanced country on Earth. Faced with the high-level monster, the Dark Moon Viper, the country tried to resist, but the result did not change. In front of the Dark Moon Viper, no Sea King Gene powerhouse could withstand even one move. The Boxing King of Philadelphia had long fallen in the war with Huaxia. As for the nuclear bomb commander, he was now a commander without an army. No one knew where he was. He was not stupid. If the country was destroyed, it could be rebuilt. There was no need to fight such a monster head-on. That would be courting death, unless he was tired of living. Mojave Desert, underground kingdom. No one would have guessed that under the boundless and uninhabited desert, a base of the country was hidden. All the elites of the country were gathered here. With the nuclear bomb commander as the leader, they preserved their strength and waited for an opportunity to turn the situation around. The desert was probably the most hated place for sea monsters. This damn beast, when will it leave? It's been a month. The nuclear bomb commander was fuming with anger. The satellite images monitored the Dark Moon Viper, but they watched it create one massacre after another. The entire country had completely fallen, and it was no longer as glorious as before. The people around sighed in their hearts. Each of the geniuses was now like a defeated rooster. First, it was defeated by Lin Feng alone. Then, it was destroyed by a monster alone. The country had become a joke. It's all that damn Lin Feng's fault. Despicable, despicable, shameless. The Huaxia people are so shameless. How dare you use such despicable methods? The nuclear bomb commander gritted his teeth in anger, his veins bulging. Lin Feng, don't let me catch you. Suddenly, Commander, look. One of the technicians widened his eyes and pointed at the big screen. Everyone's eyes gathered. A stream of light flashed past, so fast that it could not be seen clearly. Of course, the nuclear bomb commander was an exception. Looking at the familiar face on the flying sword, the nuclear bomb commander's half-mechanical face twitched. He shouted angrily, "Zoom in! Zoom in immediately!" Yes. The technician did not even have time to wipe the sweat off his forehead. The huge screen zoomed in and occupied the entire plane. The bright figure was like a meteor. At this moment, it had slowed down, and its appearance was gradually revealed. Lin Feng? Isn't that the Chinese kid? What's he doing here? Everyone had different expressions on their faces. There was surprise, anger, and doubt. Only the commander of the nuclear bomb was frowning. His eyes were fixed on the screen, not far away from Lin Feng's direction. There was the location of the Dark Moon Roar. Help the country. Lin Feng naturally wouldn't be so kind, but he had to look at the big picture. The earlier he killed the Dark Moon Python, the fewer variables there would be. The possibility mentioned by Senior Lion must be guarded against, even if the second-level cosmic energy on Earth is extremely poor. But that didn't mean it didn't exist. Nothing was certain. Once a Dark Moon Python breaks through and becomes a demonic beast lord, its power will increase tremendously. Furthermore, it is said that the Dark Moon Python with outstanding potential will awaken a mysterious power when it becomes a demonic beast lord. Senior Lion's voice was still lingering in his ears. His expression was serious. To Lin Feng, the Dark Moon Python was already terrifying enough. It had become the leader of all the demonic beasts. Even without that mysterious power, he was also invincible on Earth. Whoosh! Lin Feng flew across the sky. Now was definitely the best opportunity for him. The threat of the Dark Moon Python on land was greatly reduced. Although there were other sea monsters, the annihilation level power was no threat to him now. It had been a month since the second beast tide outbreak. More than 90% of the country was destroyed. It was obvious that the Dark Moon Python had almost lost its patience and was ready to leave. He would miss this opportunity. The next time the Dark Moon Python came to land, it would be unknown. There might not be as good a battlefield as Earth. In the past month, the Dark Moon Python had been attacking and destroying. But Lin Feng had been cultivating and never stopped. Every day, his strength was improving. Half a month ago, the Blue Thunder Holy Aura had reached the 2nd level. After that, close to half a month of seclusion. Lin Feng's strength had not only improved steadily, and he had mastered a new power. This was also where his confidence came from. Without 3 or 3, he wouldn't dare to go to Liangshan. He had fought the Dark Moon Python 3 times. This was the time he was most confident. A monster is a monster. If it had been hiding in the sea, I wouldn't have had a chance to kill it. But on land, it's still unknown who will be the winner. A red light flashed in Lin Feng's hand. The 9 secret Thunderblade fell into his hand. A strong fighting spirit surged out. He was getting closer and closer to the target. Ancient Huaxia. The satellite clearly captured the country's scene. Now that the country had been destroyed, there was no anti-magnetic equipment to interfere. In the Science Research Institute, Zhou Zhengyi, Li Jixing, Bai Jia, and the others gathered in front of the screen, waiting for the battle. Although it was Lin Feng who was fighting, they were much more nervous than Lin Feng. Yi Fan, Han Fei, and Lan Feiping clenched their fists. Their palms were sweaty. Their straight bodies were motionless and a little stiff. Looking at the figure on the screen, they were very close to the Dark Moon Python. They were facing a monster that was far beyond the level of Earth. They were getting closer and closer. This battle was extremely important to ancient Huaxia and mankind. We will win, Zhou Jingyi said in a low voice. However, his tightly knitted brows showed that he wasn't very confident. Ordinary warriors in ancient Huaxia didn't know, but they knew very well that Lin Feng had defeated the Dark Moon Python twice in a row. Among them, Li Jixing was the one who knew the Dark Moon Python the best. He described the Dark Moon Python as, once one was trapped in a black fog, one would never be able to get out. Lin Feng was already very powerful. However, the Dark Moon Python was even more terrifying. It's up to you, Brother Lin, Li Jixing murmured. His eyes were fixed on the screen with slight reluctance. However, his strength was far from Lin Feng's. God bless. We must kill this monster. We must. Do your best, Lin Feng. Every expert's face was extremely solemn at this moment. They kept cheering in their hearts, whether it was for themselves, for Lin Feng, or even for mankind. Although they knew that it was useless, what else could they do besides this? Roar. The Dark Moon Python, who was wantonly destroying things, suddenly turned around. Its eyes were shining. Its sharp eyes looked into the distance. When it saw the familiar figure, the Dark Moon Python's eyes widened in anger. The dark crescent moon on its forehead lit up completely. The dark holy aura exploded. Its roar was filled with murderous intent. It was extremely excited. It had finally found that damn human. Come. Lin Feng flew across the sky. His body was like lightning. The amazing power of the 9 Serenity's Thunderblade exploded instantly. Lin Feng's fighting spirit was endless. This time, he would fight to his heart's content. Chapter 325. The Dark Moon Roar was here. It was faster and stronger than he had imagined. Like a big wave washing away the sand, it was mixed with the majestic aura of the ocean, but it was incomparably ghostly. The dark moon was bright, and the dark black holy aura condensed on the Dark Moon Roar's body. However, it was not released like a black mist in the first and second battle. Now, it was condensed and did not dissipate. The control of power was extremely delicate. Hand-to-hand combat. Lin Feng was slightly shocked. He had thought of many possibilities, but he did not expect the Dark Moon Roar to fight on land in such a way. A black shadow streaked across the sky, filled with thick dark holy aura. Titanium gray body, 3rd level. Lin Feng directly faced this move. It was not that he could not dodge it, but he wanted to test the Dark Moon Roar. Clang! His right arm went numb, and the blue thunder holy aura triggered by the 9 Serenity's Thunderblade was instantly swallowed. The pure dark holy aura had no less energy than the blue thunder holy aura, and it was much more powerful. Sizzle. Sizzle. The danger of the dark holy aura lay in its spread and sputtering. From a nine serenities thunder blade to the arm, then to the skin, it was all-pervasive. Crimson fire holy aura, second level. Lin Feng retreated, his eyes shining. The second level of crimson fire holy aura condensed on the fire scale, Saint Robe. In an instant, the red light shone, displaying the power of a mid-level defensive holy treasure. The powerful crimson flames resisted the remaining dark holy aura, and a lion-dragon-like figure appeared again. The Dark Moon Roar not only had amazing attack power, but its speed was also ghostly. In the ocean, it was like a marshal who commanded the universe, controlling the power of the endless ocean. It could attack and defend. On land, it was also not to be outdone. Like a brave and fearless general, it was invincible. But, after all, the ocean and land were different. Whoosh! Lin Feng was like a gust of wind as he quickly retreated, causing the Dark Moon Viper's claw to hit empty air. The sputtering corrosion of the dark holy aura was also impossible to deal with. A wisp of wind power appeared under Lin Feng's feet, and the Bloodwalker's boots shone. Wind holy aura, even though it was only the first level, but could use the Bloodwalker's boots extremely well. Lin Feng's defense had greatly improved, regardless of the body's absolute defense. In the last half a month, Lin Feng had reached a whole new level in both aspects. Learning the 7th level of the Nine Dragon Scripture and absorbing holy chi was a key breakthrough. On the 5th floor of the man-made pyramid, it was true that distant water could not put out a nearby fire. The cultivation speed was too slow. After all, the energy of the stars on Earth was very weak. But there was one thing. But it has a very strong holy chi. Shiva Sect Holy Temple. 3 of the 6 roulette channels could absorb the purest holy chi. One of them was the flame roulette channel, and the other one was the wind holy chi that Li Jixing cultivated. In terms of grade, neither of them were high, but their value lay in the abundance of holy chi. The Nine Dragon Sutra was a fire tribute heart sutra. Absorbing flames was like a fish in water. The flames in the wheel were absorbed into his body and converted into Scarlet Fire Saint Chi, causing the Scarlet Fire Saint Chi to grow rapidly. He broke through to the 2nd level. Normally, with Lin Feng's ordinary talent in fire, it would take him at least half a year. As for the Holy Wind Chi, the 2nd stage might be a little more difficult, but it was easy to absorb the 1st stage. Lin Feng did not rely on the Holy Wind Chi to attack. Its biggest function was to control the Bloodwalker's boots. As for the Scarlet Fire Saint Chi, the energy in the 1st stage was too little. It was not enough to defend against the Dark Holy Chi. Although it was not as good as the Dark Holy Chi now, it was at least enough to fight in a short time. Nine Dragon Scripture, 7th level. Lin Feng's eyes were bright. Behind him, 7 giant dragons roared and rose, like stars surrounding the moon. The blazing energy was like the condensation of the rising sun. The pure scarlet fire Saint Chi turned into flames and fell with Lin Feng's 9 Serenity Thunderblade. It exploded with power that was not inferior to the Blue Thunder Saint Chi, the power of an overlord. It was driven by the 2nd stage of the True Dragon Saint Chi. Lin Feng's blade was domineering. The Dark Moon Roar fought back furiously. Although the Dark Holy Chi was shockingly rich, it was too crude compared to Lin Feng's moves and power usage. The energy of the sun collided with the Dark Holy Chi of the Dark Moon Roar, but Lin Feng's blade flashed a cold light. Chi! The attack exploded. The 5th attack, 5 Mountains Thunderous Explosion. The pure power of the blade burst out, triggering the 9 Serenities Thunderblade's own power of thunder and lightning. Lin Feng was still unable to control 2 types of powerful holy chi at the same time. Even so, this unexpected strike was still extremely powerful. The Dark Moon Roar was completely caught off guard. Sizzle! The 9 Serenity Thunderblade cut open the Dark Moon Roar's weak abdomen scales. The wound was glaring, and Lin Feng's power of thunder and lightning instantly exploded. Sizzle, sizzle, roar. The Dark Moon roar went crazy. The injury made this ferocious beast unusually violent. Bang, bang, bang. Lin Feng pursed his lips and abruptly retreated. The Dark Moon roar's counterattack was very decisive and terrifying, especially the invisible life absorption. It kept hitting his spiritual power, and some even penetrated his body. If he did not have the protection of the second stage of the true dragon Saint Chi, he would be in a mess. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The dark holy Chi broke the fire scale, Saint roar again. In an instant, a hellish power formed. Shura appeared with a ghostly roar. Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. He could feel the life absorption. It was like a straw coming out of the dark holy Chi and going straight into his body. Bang! The red fire holy Chi burned. While blocking the dark holy Chi, the golden dragon roared again. Clang! The true dragon Saint Chi was a perfect protection. Swoosh! The dark moon roar was furious. The light of the dark moon on its forehead kept accumulating. Although Lin Feng was disrupted by the counterattack, he actually had the advantage in a short confrontation. It was the first time he had really hurt the dark moon roar. This was not only a breakthrough, but also a signal, an opportunity. In the ocean, the dark moon roar's defense was impregnable. On land, its attack was strong, but its defense was much weaker. More importantly, it could not exert the power of the ocean's Saint Chi. In terms of close combat, the Dark Moon roar was far less experienced than human masters. Lin Feng dodged and avoided. With the help of the Bloodwalker's boots and the Wind Holy Chi, he did not fight head-on. In terms of dodging ability, he was not as good as Li Jixing. But if Li Jixing fought with the Dark Moon roar now, one counterattack would probably doom him eternally. Lin Feng was different. With the protection of the true Dragon Saint Chi, the Dark Moon roar's most powerful talent lost its effect. With the Dark Holy Chi alone, it was difficult to defeat Lin Feng. It was even more difficult to kill Lin Feng. Moreover, the furious Dark Moon roar was gradually losing its calm. Its flaws were gradually showing. As Lin Feng moved around, he would occasionally look for openings and flaws to strike. Every bit of injury accumulated, and the accumulated effect was incomparably huge. It's about time. Lin Feng's eyes flashed as he retreated. A red light condensed in his hand. This was a trump card that he had obtained by accident. It was also the reason why he was so confident. At this moment, he would take its life while it was weak. Chapter 326. Ancient Huaxia Science Research Institute. They could clearly see the battle on the screen. Everyone's mouths were wide open. Their nervous, trembling bodies had long stopped. They stared at the screen with excitement on their faces. Their tightly clenched fists were filled with strength, and they were jumping for joy. They didn't expect Lin Feng to have the upper hand. That was a legendary high-level demon beast. He's going to win. Lan Feiping was very proud. Alliance leader Lin Feng is really too strong, Yi Fan said with admiration. He and Han Fei had been convinced by Lin Feng for a long time. Without Lin Feng, the Elemental Business Alliance wouldn't be as glorious as it was now. Ziyushu also smiled. Although their families used to be enemies and hated each other for generations, he respected Lin Feng from the bottom of his heart, just like how Lin Feng respected the true Emperor Wu. Without Lin Feng, ancient Huaxia would have been destroyed and the Z family would be nowhere to be found. Only Li Jixing looked serious from the beginning to the end. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. What's wrong? Zhou Jingyi asked. Lin Feng is about to start the final battle. As soon as Li Jixing said that, everyone's heart skipped a beat and their eyes widened. Why do you say that? Zhou Jingyi sneered. Isn't it better to continue fighting and weaken the Dark Moon Viper? Zhou Jingyi asked what everyone was thinking. In the satellite image, Lin Feng had a great advantage, and the Dark Moon Viper couldn't attack Lin Feng at all. Look at Lin Feng's fire scale, Saint Robe. Li Jixing pointed at the screen. Everyone looked at it and felt suffocated. Unknowingly, the fire scale Saint Robe, which was originally intact, was broken and had a lot of black energy left and kept corroding. The Dark Moon Viper's Dark Holy Chi has a strong, sputtering energy. Including its talent ability, it's even more terrifying, Li Jixing said seriously. Although Lin Feng is dodging, his defensive power and Holy Chi are constantly being consumed. In terms of endurance, Lin Feng is definitely not the Dark Moon Viper's match. Now, he's just accumulating advantages, in exchange for the Dark Moon Viper's strength decreasing. It's like walking on a tightrope, extremely dangerous. Li Jixing's eyes flashed. The next attack will be decisive. Lin Feng has abandoned all his defenses to increase his chances of killing the Dark Moon Python. But at the same time, he has also increased his chances of dying. The outcome of this battle will be decided by a fine line. Silence. There was a deathly silence. Everyone's joy instantly disappeared without a trace. His face was pale as if he was suffocating, and his heart was in turmoil. At this very moment, Lin Feng, it's starting. Li Jixing's heavy voice suddenly resounded. The scene on the screen changed drastically. Attack! Lin Feng stopped dodging. Just as Li Jixing had said, Lin Feng had indeed exchanged injuries for an advantage. The price was high, but it was worth it. Lin Feng was very clear in his heart that victory or defeat would be decided in today's battle. His strength was inferior to the Dark Moon Viper's. If he wanted to win, he had to risk his life. Opportunity. Just once. If the Dark Moon Sea Serpent escaped back into the sea, ancient Huaxiao would face a true calamity. It might even follow in the footsteps of Country M. This was the last thing he wanted to see. Today's battle. You and I will definitely die. Lin Feng's eyes were bright and determined. The Sacred Wind Qi was not very useful, and the Sacred Fire Qi was almost exhausted after a long battle. The only thing that was full was the Sacred Blue Lightning Qi. The Nine Serenities Thunderblade drew the power of thunder and lightning, which had imperceptibly saved a lot of the Sacred Blue Lightning Qi. Lin Feng was very clear. Attack! This was the only thing he could compete with the Dark Moon Viper. At this moment, there was no need to hide his strength. Titanium Grade Body. 4th level. Lin Feng's face was distorted as pain attacked his heart. Crack! Crack! His body changed drastically, his muscles expanded, and his blood vessels protruded. However, the pain was less than before, and his body had gradually begun to adapt, just like when he had adapted to the 3rd level of the Titanium Grade Body. The less pain, the longer he could endure. Overlord Battle Power. Driven by his will, a powerful force suddenly emerged. The Nine Serenities Thunderblade seemed to come alive in an instant. Lin Feng's strength increased dramatically, and the crescent moon mark on the Dark Moon Viper's forehead moved even more. It seemed that a force was constantly surging out. The Dark Moon Viper roared as if it was increasing its strength. Decisive battle. Qi! Qi! The sacred dark Qi mixed with sharp claws attacked Lin Feng. Roar! The Dark Moon Viper's eyes widened in anger, and its hostility exploded. Rise! Lin Feng shouted. The sacred blue lightning Qi fell and instantly condensed into a ball of lightning. Zap! 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 One split into two into four. For lightning balls flashed with frightening lightning as they circled around Lin Feng. The burning of the dark Saint Qi was like a firework. Lin Feng let out a muffled groan as he felt a majestic force invading him. Sacred True Dragon Force. A forceful block and an instant counterattack. Boom! The Nine Serenities Thunderblade activated the power of heaven, and the sacred blue lightning Qi was furious. The 4 balls of lightning turned from defense to offense and launched an extremely fierce counterattack. The endless thunder and lightning collided with the Dark Moon Viper. As Lin Feng's body rose and fell, the Nine Serenities Thunder Blade instantly. Heavenly Thunder struck. The 8th strike, Heavenly Thunder, slaying True Dragon. Dying. Lin Feng ignored the erosion of the majestic sacred dark Qi in his body. He chose to believe in the sacred True Dragon Force. Buzz. The golden True Dragon roared as Lin Feng and the Dark Moon Viper collided fiercely. The Dark Moon Viper's shrill roar filled the sky with extreme anger. It was difficult to kill it with physical strength. The strongest part of demonic beasts was their bodies. Needless to say, the Dark Moon Viper was one of the best demonic beasts and had the sacred dark chi protecting its body. Lin Feng's strike was enough to hurt both sides. Although the Dark Moon Viper was heavily injured, it was not easy for him either. Puff! Spitting out blood, Lin Feng endured the pain. In an instant, "Come out!" Lin Feng gritted his teeth so hard that they seemed to break. The red light in his hand finally revealed its true form. It was a small tetrahedron-shaped tesseract, half the size of his palm. It was the sacred treasure that he had obtained from the Dragon-Killing Island's treasure vault. Although the Dragon-Killing Island Lord knew its value and kept it, he could not use it. This tetrahedron-shaped tesseract needed Sacred True Dragon to activate, and it consumed a lot of energy. Roar! The red side of the tesseract lit up completely. The tesseract changed instantly, turning into a blood-red bird that looked like a phoenix. It attacked the Dark Moon Viper at an astonishing speed. Its speed was so fast that it was shocking. In the blink of an eye, it had arrived. But it was like an illusion. The moment the blood-red bird touched the Dark Moon Viper, it disappeared. Failed. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. Roar! The Dark Moon Viper's miserable cry was 10 times more painful than before. It was as if it was being skinned alive. It shook its head crazily as blood flowed out of its orifices. It was caught off guard by Lin Feng's sneak attack. It was as if a knife had stabbed deep into its consciousness. The Dark Moon Viper was completely unprepared. It was extremely miserable. As Lin Feng retreated, a weak smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He tightened his grip on the 9 Serenity Thunderblade. He had made the right bet. The Dark Moon Viper would definitely die this time. The shrill roar became weaker and weaker. The Dark Moon Viper seemed to have exhausted all its strength. Blood flowed out of its body, and its eyes gradually dimmed. Its consciousness was almost extinguished. But at this moment, the crescent moon mark on the Dark Moon Viper's forehead suddenly shone brightly. Endless dark power erupted. In an instant, it enveloped the Dark Moon Viper. Chapter 327. In the underground kingdom of the Mojave Desert, not only were there overlords from Huaxiao watching this battle, but also from M Nation. The nuclear bomb commander watched the battle in shock. The Dark Moon's power terrified him, but Lin Feng's power also shocked him. It was far beyond his own strength. All the overlords from M Nation were horrified, seeing that Lin Feng was about to kill the Dark Moon Python. A black fog suddenly shrouded it, and the Dark Moon Python seemed to disappear into thin air. What's going on? What the hell is that black fog? Who won? Everyone was confused. Even a nuclear bomb commander frowned and glanced at the research institute in front of him. He was wearing a light blue suit. Dr. Jean sat on the sofa in the research institute, drinking red wine and watching the battle. He suddenly shook his head and clicked his tongue. What a pity. The Dark Moon has awakened. It seems that this lucky Dark Moon Python is going to win. He murmured to himself. Dr. Jin's expression still didn't change. He just sipped his red wine and watched the battle that concerned the survival of mankind with a faint smile. It was as if it had nothing to do with him. In the Scientific Research Institute of Huaxia, when they saw Lin Feng show his power and severely injure the Dark Moon Python, everyone was cheering excitedly. Even Li Jixing, who looked serious, clenched his fist and smiled as if relieved of a heavy burden. However, the sudden change caused everyone to freeze in place. What happened? What was the thick black fog surrounding the Dark Moon Python? They couldn't see it clearly under the satellite image, but everyone had a vague feeling that something was wrong. It was an inexplicable sense of danger and horror. They could tell from the expression on Lin Feng's face. Pale and dignified. Thud! Lin Feng landed on the ground. He pursed his lips tightly. He stared at the Dark Moon Python in front of him. The thick black fog was constantly expanding. It was like a plague. No one knew what it was better than Lin Feng. His body trembled slightly. Lin Feng's heart raced. Dark holy qi. It was extremely rich dark holy qi. The Dark Moon Python, whose life force had been as dim as the color, seemed to have awakened some kind of terrible power, and its life force was recovering bit by bit. Not good. Lin Feng's expression changed, and his speed exploded. This dense, dark, holy qi must be related to the Dark Moon Roar. Senior Lion's words appeared in his mind, and it was probably true. He held the 9 Serenities' thunder blade tightly. Lin Feng had only one thought in his mind at this moment. He had to kill the Dark Moon Viper. If the Dark Moon Viper really did awaken its mysterious power and break through its limits, it would be the end of Earth and the end of mankind. It was hard to imagine what would happen when the time came, but the people would definitely be plunged into misery and suffering. It would be like hell on earth. There were some things he couldn't stop, but there were some things he had to do, even if he had to pay with his life. The Overlord's power was pushed to its limits, and Lin Feng felt as if his mind was instantly emptied, leaving only his willpower to support his body. The blue lightning holy qi had been exhausted in the previous attack. Lin Feng had always been extremely meticulous when it came to controlling power. He had no intention of holding back. The more power output, the higher the chance of killing it. But now, just like how a clever housewife can't cook without rice, was there no other way? No. Lightning holy qi. Lin Feng still had some strength left. In terms of attack, the lightning holy qi was not as good as the blue lightning holy qi, not as good as the red fire holy qi, and not as good as the wind holy qi in dodging. However, the lightning holy qi had the advantage that the other 3 holy qi did not have. It was the strongest qualification, Shiva Sek's Holy Temple Wheel Passage. It was 4 times more than the wind and thunder qualifications, 20 times more than the flame qualifications. In terms of cultivation speed, Lin Feng's fastest was not the red fire holy qi that matched the 9 dragon scripture, but the wheel passage. The lightning holy qi, the first level. It was just the lightning holy qi that he had just obtained in case of an emergency, but he didn't expect to really use it. Galloping, Lin Feng had already seen the Dark Moon Viper shrouded in black fog. At this moment, the crescent moon mark on his forehead was shining brightly, and his face was extremely ferocious. The aura of life. It was constantly improving. He was transforming. If he didn't kill him now, there would be no chance. Whoosh! Lin Feng didn't hesitate and directly entered the shroud of the dark holy qi. The endless dark holy qi was extremely violent and instantly eroded his body, violently nibbling away. Lin Feng felt the collapse of the true dragon holy power. It was not only because of the consumption when using the strange magic cube holy treasure, but also because of the huge amount of dark holy qi that poured in. It even contained the life of the Dark Moon Viper. But since he had come in, he didn't plan to go out. Let's go to hell together. Lin Feng's eyes were bloodshot as he roared and attacked the Dark Moon Viper. The wild thunder and lightning triggered the power of the 9 Serenities' Thunderblade, forming lightning and thunder. The decisive attack carried Lin Feng's unyielding determination. He had already disregarded his life. His spirit and heart were raised to the limit. At this moment, for Lin Feng, the 8th strike of the Purple Thunderblade technique was no longer a secret. In his mind, he instantly mastered the technique used by Senior Xiangyu. The lightning and thunder condensed into a strong power of thunder and lightning. 1 divided into 2, 2 divided into 4, and 4 divided into 8. Gathering Lin Feng's strongest power, 8 lightning balls condensed at the tip of the blade. With lightning speed, they went straight for the Dark Moon Viper. The final explosion. This blade was even stronger than the one that severely injured the Dark Moon Viper. But bang! The Dark Moon Viper, who had been standing still, suddenly woke up the moment the 9 Serenities' Thunderblade arrived. He raised his claws to block. Activating the protection of the Dark Holy Qi, the Dark Moon Viper seemed to have gone crazy. He actually collided with Lin Feng's attack in an instant. This attack was fatal to Lin Feng. He had exhausted all his strength. If he couldn't kill the Dark Moon Viper, then everything he had done before would be in vain. Never. Lin Feng's tenacity and persistence were beyond ordinary. He would never give up any opportunity, even if it was a desperate situation. Boom! Lin Feng used the full power of an overlord. At this moment, all the scenes appeared in his mind. Deeply comprehending, Lin Feng's power changed in an instant. Lightning. Lightning is the true evolution of light. Qi. The lightning holy qi disappeared. At that moment, it turned into a stream of light. Like a blood-red bird, it strangely penetrated the dark moon viper's body. Qi. Bang. Rumble. The dark moon viper's eyes widened in shock. The crescent moon mark on its forehead was extremely bright, but it couldn't change its fate. Sizzle. 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 The lightning holy qi tore apart the dark moon viper's defense from the inside. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere. With a strong sense of unwillingness, the dark moon viper died a tragic death. Bang! Lin Feng lost his last bit of strength. Holding the 9 Serenity's thunder blade tightly, he lay on the ground, allowing the dark holy qi to enter his body and nibble away his life force. Lin Feng's defense also collapsed. Although Lin Feng finally exploded with the profound meaning of penetration and killed the dark moon viper, his fate was already sealed from the beginning. Regardless of whether he won or lost, he entered this area shrouded in dark holy qi. He would definitely die. I won. Lin Feng smiled in his heart. He didn't regret it. Chapter 328. Death was not scary. To Lin Feng, if he were to live but lose his faith and protection, then he would rather die with a bang. The high-level Dark Moon Python was already terrifyingly strong. It could be imagined how terrifying the Dark Moon Python that had awakened its mysterious power and advanced to become a lord of monsters was. Indeed, the number of monsters in the Pacific Ocean had decreased greatly, but they were still far more powerful than human masters. Not to mention the Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, and the Arctic Ocean. After experiencing 2 monster tides, Lin Feng did not want to see a third. Therefore, he would not allow the Dark Moon Python to live. Only its death could exchange for the peace of mankind. Hiss! Hiss! Endless dark holy qi poured into Lin Feng's body, eating away his strength, body, and life. His spiritual power was instantly devoured. The golden dragon in his body roared angrily, full of unwillingness, but it was torn apart in an instant. It could not stop the dark power. Blue thunder holy qi, red fire holy qi, wind holy qi, lightning holy qi. In front of this overwhelming dark holy qi, there was no way to resist at all. It was like an army that had suffered heavy losses after a long war and encountered well-equipped cavalry. The destructive power directly destroyed Lin Feng's remaining defense. But Lin Feng did not admit defeat. A painful voice sounded in Lin Feng's heart. Like the golden dragon in his body, it had deep pride and determination. Even if there was no hope, Lin Feng would never give up. As long as he was not dead, as long as he still had a breath, he would work hard to fight until the last moment. This was the belief that was deeply imprinted in Lin Feng's heart since he was young. Jilai's eyes were wide open. His eyes were bloodshot. No matter how strong Lin Feng's will was, he could not resist the rapid loss of his life. His eyes gradually dimmed, and his breath of life began to decline. It was devoured by the dark power. In midair, flesh and blood splattered everywhere. It was the flesh and blood of the Dark Moon Python that was torn apart by the lightning holy qi. It was like a bloody rain. Lin Feng looked up and smiled weakly, as if it was his funeral. His eyes were filled with endless desire and challenge. Lin Feng wanted to become stronger and go further, but the road, it seemed to have come to an end. His vision began to blur. Lin Feng's astonishing willpower maintained his consciousness until now. He could clearly feel everything in his body. Suddenly, he vaguely saw that there seemed to be a different kind of existence amidst the flying flesh and blood. The dark moonlight was like a heart formed by the convergence of endless energy. It was not flesh and blood, but more like a crystallization of energy. Along with the Dark Moon Python's bloody mist, they floated in this dark world like lost children. Lin Feng was puzzled. In an instant, his pale face became even more deathly still. He almost exhausted the last bit of his spiritual sense power and crazily squeezed. The shadow of the golden dragon remained in his body. A pair of invisible hands instantly slapped towards the heart of darkness. Ha! The heart of darkness suddenly fell. Lin Feng didn't even have the strength to grab it with his last bit of strength. Fortunately, he wasn't too far away. Gulp! As the heart of darkness entered his mouth, a shocking amount of energy surged into his heart. Lin Feng had no other choice but to try his best. Many poisons could be detoxified by their own flesh and blood. The one who started the trouble should end it. Since this heart of darkness had burst out from the dark moon python's body, perhaps it would have a miraculous effect. It could resist a portion of the power of darkness. Even so, Lin Feng was still not confident. However, other than this, he had no other choice. He used his last bit of strength to take a gamble. Wah! The heart of darkness entered his body like a huge magnet. In an instant, all the dark holy aura in his body seemed to be summoned and flowed through all the meridians in his body. All the dark holy aura crazily rushed towards the heart of darkness. Lin Feng was stunned. He instantly closed his eyes and revealed a weak smile. He had won the gamble. Red lightning. Wah! Lin Zhan and Sharjah appeared. The two of them came together with Lin Feng. They were prepared for emergencies. As the battle ended, the two of them instantly appeared in the ruins of the battlefield. Lin Zhan stared blankly at the thick black fog. He looked at the figures in it and panicked. His aura instantly surged. Brother! Lin Zhan didn't even think and directly rushed towards the area enveloped by the dark holy aura. Pa! An invisible force blocked him. Lin Zhan groaned and his body stopped. Sharjah appeared behind him. His lake blue eyes were crystal clear. Don't be rash. Lin Zhan clenched his fists. Powerful holy aura surged out. He frowned. He saw that his brother, Lin Feng, was lying on the ground. Endless dark holy aura surged into his body. Lin Zhan suppressed the anxiety in his heart. However, he respected Sharjah very much. He stared at his brother, Lin Feng. Suddenly, Lin Zhan's anxious expression relaxed. It turned into confusion. Lin Feng's aura is weak, but it's slowly increasing, Sharjah said. Starlight flashed on his forehead. He could communicate with heaven and earth better than Lin Feng and sense the energy in the environment. Sharjah was actually curious about Lin Feng's current state. The dark holy aura didn't harm Lin Feng. Instead, it was absorbed by him. It's quite strange. Lin Zhan nodded. He wasn't stupid. He was just confused. Let's watch for a while more. Get ready. We need to protect Lin Feng. Sharjah's eyes flashed. His Virgo gold saint garment shone brightly. He quickly formed a seal. AMU. Lin Zhan landed in front of Sharjah. His strong body stood upright, shielding his brother from the wind and rain. Many annihilation monsters had appeared around them. Mojave Desert, Underground Kingdom. The shocking battle had ended. Although the last battle was covered by black fog and couldn't be seen clearly, Lin Zhan and Sharjah's appearance was like announcing the final result. Lin Feng won. The Dark Moon Python didn't exist in this darkness. Otherwise, Lin Zhan and Sharjah would have been attacked long ago. Lin Feng from Huaxia is so powerful. He actually killed that terrifying demonic beast. Is he still human? Monster! How can we win against such a monster? Looking at the screen, the strong cultivators from Huaxia had mixed feelings. Lin Feng had avenged them and killed the culprit that destroyed Huaxia. However, he had created an even more terrifying enemy, Lin Feng himself. Monsters were indeed terrifying, but they weren't intelligent. They didn't have a fixed enemy. Even if they did, it would be a large area. Humans. However, Huaxia was different. Huaxia's strength would threaten Huaxia deeply. They had power and intelligence. If Huaxia wanted to destroy Huaxia, it was entirely possible. Thinking of this, the strong cultivators from Huaxia had ugly expressions, especially the commander of the nuclear bomb. I won't allow it. An angry voice sounded. The commander of the nuclear bomb had a ferocious expression. We can't let Lin Feng recover his strength. He must be seriously injured now. That's why Lin Zhan and Sharjah are protecting him. They want to kill him. Now is the best chance. The commander of the nuclear bomb released uranium energy. His killing intent was obvious. Chapter 329. In the hall, all the experts from Country M were stunned. Kill Lin Feng. Did they hear wrongly? Everyone's eyes fell on the leftmost side of the screen. On a row of mechanical control buttons, the screen showed Lin Feng's transparent body. His combat power was clearly displayed in Arabic numbers. Attack index is S221. High-level holy treasure. Defense index is S144. Mid-level holy treasure. Speed index is S169. High-level holy treasure. Evaluation. Titanium grade 4th level strengthening. Overall combat power is S178. The combat power was based on the monster's strength. Annihilation level monsters were 1 to 100. Annihilation level monsters, which were demonic beasts, were 100 to 200 combat power. If it exceeded 200, it would be a demonic beast lord. What kind of joke is this? Kill a monster with a combat power of S178? The attack of S221. God, that's the power of a low-level monster lord. It's too terrifying. Do we have anyone with a combat power of more than S100? Everyone looked at each other. They shrugged and spread their hands. To them, Lin Feng's level of strength was too high. It was so high that they lost their fighting spirit. You! The nuclear bomb commander roared in anger. His powerful strength instantly erupted. With his status, he had always been a man of his word. When had he ever been rejected like this? He had lost face. The experts from Country M looked at the nuclear bomb commander. Although they were a little afraid, they did not have the feeling of obedience like before. After the defeat of Huaxia, the commander was no longer the same as before. Whoosh! A light flashed, and a blue figure slowly walked out of the research institute. He was wearing a noble and elegant suit and had a pair of golden eyes. The appearance of Dr. Jean instantly made the experts of Country M respect him. Even a nuclear bomb commander did not say a word. What are you arguing about? Dr. Jean frowned. As his indifferent voice fell, Dr. Jean looked at the nuclear bomb commander. Change your bad habit of underestimating the enemy. Impulsive and self-righteous. Yes, the nuclear bomb commander answered submissively. Dr. Jean did not say much. He just pointed at the screen. Gold St. Sharjah. Overall combat power index S147. Leo Escart. Huaxia's name is Lin Zhan. Overall combat power index S136. You can at most hold back one person. Who will block the remaining one? The nuclear bomb commander lowered his head. There was still a hint of defiance in his eyes. Having more people doesn't mean you're strong. Professor Jean pointed at the air. You want to borrow the power of an annihilation-class monster. Don't be too naive. By the time we arrive, there will probably be less than 5 of them left. As for technological weapons, we still lack sufficient resources. Besides, Professor Jin's gaze fell on the screen. He looked at the area shrouded in dark holy chi, and a dash of white swept across it. He's not bad to be able to defeat the Dark Moon Viper with a combat power of S190. For the time being, we still need him in some places. Bring someone to Lin Feng immediately, Dr. Jean said. The nuclear bomb commander was stunned. His eyes suddenly lit up. Kill him. Professor Jean was a little speechless. He frowned and said, I'm going to help him. There was an idiom in Huaxia called playing the lute to a cow. I finally understand. The crowd burst into laughter. The commander's face turned red. Doctor, I don't understand. Huaxia people follow the path of the mean in their bones, Professor Jean said. To put it nicely, they are benevolent, righteous, and loving. To put it bluntly, they are pedantic and soft-hearted. Even if we do nothing, Lin Feng will be fine. But if we help kill the monsters, it's equivalent to bowing to Huaxia. At that time, even if we can't turn hostility into friendship, at least Country M can be rebuilt without worry. We don't need to worry about Huaxia's invasion, Professor Jean said. In Huaxia's idiom, it's to endure hardships and seek revenge. Ancient Huaxia Science Research Institute. We won. That's great. Alliance leader Lin Shang is awesome. Everyone was unusually excited and high-fived each other. It was difficult to express the joy in their hearts. The ordinary people didn't know, but they knew the meaning of this battle. The death of the high-level monster, the Dark Moon Viper, meant that the beast tide had truly ended. Even if there were more beast tides, the scale wouldn't exceed the second one. Moreover, there were no high-level monsters participating in the battle. The so-called beast tide was just a joke. Although the number of human masters was not as many as the sea monsters, there were super masters like Lin Feng, Sharjah, and Li Jixing. One of them could fight against 100 monsters, and there was also the invincible Lin Feng. Brother Lin, is he all right? Li Jixing was a little worried. He should be fine. Zhou Jingyi stared at the screen. Even Lin Feng is calm and composed. Lin Feng is probably only slightly injured. God bless us. Alliance leader Lin Shang, please return safely. Han Fei knelt on one knee and prayed with a pious look on his face. However, Yifan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He laughed and scolded. Since when did you believe in God? Han Fei opened his eyes and chuckled. Suddenly, look. Lan Feipeng pointed at the screen and widened his eyes. The commander of the nuclear bomb is a master from Country M. These bastards, how dare they take advantage of the situation? The newly promoted marshal, Tu Hu, was furious. However, to everyone's surprise, the masters from Country M only helped to kill the sea monsters. They were thousands of meters away from Lin Feng, and no one approached him. Instead, they formed a protective circle around Lin Feng and the other two. Did I see wrongly? Did the commander of the nuclear bomb find his conscience from the dog poop? Ha! Ha! What a joke! Is this still Country M, the strongest and most powerful country on Earth? When did it become so pitiful? Everyone was in a good mood. Seeing the enemy wagging its tail like a puppy and coming over to please them, that feeling, it felt so good. Li Jixing smiled. Zhou Jingyi's eyes flashed. That's smart. Lin Feng fell asleep. He couldn't remember how many years it had been since he last slept. He spent every day working hard and cultivating with all his might. Only then did he have the possibility of creating miracles. There were no shortcuts on the road to success. He could only move forward step by step. It was very heavy, very heavy. The battle with the Dark Moon Centipede had exhausted all of Lin Feng's strength. He was mentally and physically exhausted. Fortunately, on the verge of death, he finally had 1 foot back. His consciousness was like a soul floating in the sky. Lin Feng felt as if he was dreaming. In his dream, he saw a golden dragon roaring in his body and rising. In the distance, there was a dragon that stretched for thousands of miles like a sleeping dragon. The image slowly shrank. It was the territory of ancient Huaxia, the place where the golden dragon was calling. His heart leaped with joy. In a distant place, in the heart of ancient Huaxia, there seemed to be a secret hidden, as if there was a person who was calling out to him. It was nothingness, Pa. Lin Feng suddenly opened his eyes, and his consciousness returned. Everything in his mind was like a dream that shattered in an instant. It seemed real and illusory, but it was deeply imprinted in his heart. Chapter 330. Brother Lin, that's great. You're finally awake. Xiao Ling cried tears of joy. She held Lin Feng's hand tightly. Tears streamed down her face. At this moment, she had waited for him day and night, and she had finally waited for him. Lin Feng gradually regained consciousness. He looked at the beauty beside him. Her big eyes were red, and her pretty face was a little haggard. Lin Feng's heart ached. I'm sorry to have made you worry, Ling. Although he didn't know how long he had been unconscious, he could tell that Ling hadn't rested for a long time. Her eyes were swollen from crying. Brother Lin, don't look. It's ugly. Xiao Ling seemed to have thought of something. She quickly covered her eyes and lowered her little head. No, it's very beautiful. Lin Feng smiled. Warmth flowed in his heart. There was no earth-shattering love story, but there was a long-lasting warmth. He could clearly feel Ling Er's feelings for him. As they spoke, big brother Lin Zhan, mother Jiruhua, and sister Yue rushed in. When they saw that Lin Feng had woken up, They smiled as if relieved of a heavy burden. Sister, you, couldn't hold it in. She cried. Lin Feng looked at big brother Lin Zhan. Seeing the latter smile and give him a thumbs up, Lin Feng felt relieved. The disaster was finally over. In the hall, Lin Feng ate the dishes that his mother had personally cooked. The taste was indeed not as good as the top chefs in Elemental City, but it felt like home. It was as if he was deeply immersed in it. It was more precious than any other dish. I slept for 7 days? Lin Feng was a little surprised. Lin Zhan nodded and said, Elemental City has been very lively recently. The godly doctor from Huaxia, the doctor from the European Union and the United States all rushed over. They were afraid that you would become a vegetable. How can that be? Lin Feng smiled. There was guilt and responsibility in his smile. Speaking of the godly doctor, there was always a black figure in his mind. She had the bloodline of the demon race, but she had a kind heart. She saved the dying and helped the injured. She was a really good doctor. Unfortunately, she was lying in the absolute zero ice cellar now. Her life was constantly flowing away. Wait, country? Lin Feng looked at his elder brother, Lin Zhan. Weren't Huaxia and China at loggerheads? Wouldn't China want him to be in a vegetative state? Lin Zhan knew what Lin Feng meant. Lin Feng said, 3 days ago, our country surrendered. The commander of a nuclear bomb personally came to China to apologize. He regretted. Then, Lin Zhan briefly recounted what happened that day. Lin Feng was stunned. They are really flexible. Lin Feng laughed involuntarily. Because of this, Justice Marshall even held a meeting for 2 consecutive days to decide how to deal with the relationship with the country. Lin Zhan sighed softly. In the end, brother, you don't have to tell me the results. Lin Feng shook his head. He didn't understand politics, and even the Elemental Merchant Alliance didn't do anything. China, needless to say, just like the true martial emperor, what I need to do is to protect China with my strength. As for other things, there are people who are good at this field. He would make the best choice. As for the Justice Marshal, he believed that he was a truly selfless and fearless expert. He was the most suitable person to govern China. Moreover, he could guess 70% to 80% of it. The country and China were separated by the Pacific Ocean. Although they were enemies, it was more of a secret competition of economy, technology, and the general situation of the Earth. There was only one real battle, and that time, the country was destroyed by him before it even entered the borders of China. The country that had a deep hatred for the country was the ancient Greek country. The enemies of China were the ancient Indian country and the ancient Babylon country, the 5th level of the man-made pyramid. Lin Feng sat cross-legged and entered a state of cultivation. He didn't enter the roulette channel to cultivate. Although the holy chi there was strong, it had to resist the consciousness pressure of Shiva's avatar. He hadn't fully recovered, especially his consciousness and mind. He was in a state of fatigue. In the battle with the Dark Moon Roar, he was too desperate, no matter how strong his body was. He couldn't take it. However, Lin Feng liked this kind of challenge. An opponent who was stronger than him, in an instant of life and death, could stimulate the hidden strength in his body. With danger, there would be opportunities. But this time, he had no choice but to accept the battle passively. If the Dark Moon Roar hadn't suddenly exploded, he wouldn't have been injured so badly. But that battle was indeed fruitful. The 8th move of the Purple Thunder Saber technique, fully comprehended. Lin Feng closed his eyes and clearly felt the last move. The figure of Senior Xiang Yu in his mind seemed to overlap with himself. The overbearing aura showed the power of the Purple Thunder Saber technique. The same overbearing aura driving the saber technique, the same power of thunder and lightning, the same saber technique realm. The perfect comprehension of the saber technique was only a matter of time. The 9th move of the Purple Thunder Saber technique, which had been like an iceberg, was also the last move. With the enlightenment of the 8th move, he finally found the key point of the saber technique. However, this was only the smallest gain. Piercing light. Lin Feng carefully recalled the battle. It should be called piercing lightning. Light is the energy of heaven and earth. Lightning is the true yin energy. Most of the true yin energy is derived from the energy of heaven and earth and the energy of the five elements. Therefore, it is called true yin mystery. Lin Feng thought. The energy of heaven and earth was more boundless, while the true yin energy was more direct and simple. However, since they had evolved, there were many things that they had in common. No wonder I comprehended the profound meaning of light so quickly. My lightning talent is excellent. Lightning is the evolution of light, so my light talent is naturally good. Lin Feng suddenly thought of the black-robed lion man. The last choice he gave him was to obtain the first-grade holy chi of light and directly condense it into a cyclone. Light, Lin Feng was shocked. If there was a chance, he must obtain the holy chi of light. Just the profound meaning derived from lightning was already so shocking. The true, profound meaning of light would be even more powerful. Piercing lightning. How strange. It can directly penetrate the defense. Profound meaning is really powerful. Lin Feng sighed softly. At this time, the energy in his body had already flowed through his meridians, bones, cells. Lin Feng was speechless. Although he had not fully recovered, he could feel the changes in his body. His skin was more solid and even a little darker. However, it was filled with strong energy and explosive power, just like a demon. It was strengthened again. There was a familiar yet strange energy in his body. It was still as powerful as ever. Bang! Lin Feng's heart moved. Suddenly, dark holy chi gushed out from his body as if it could devour everything in the world. Compared to the blue lightning holy chi, the red fire holy chi was more powerful. Not only was the energy more powerful, but there was also a difference in the nature of the holy chi. Both the blue lightning holy chi and the red fire holy chi were attached to the soul of the earth. However, the dark saint chi was different. Phew! Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. He was pleasantly surprised. Chapter 331. Existence. Hum. It was a dark ball of light. It seemed to have life and was extremely deep. His consciousness penetrated deeply into it. It was like a demon living in his body. It was a power that could devour everything. It stood outside the soul of the earth, shining like a star. It was connected to his heart. Dark holy chi appeared when he willed it. The powerful dark energy was exactly the same as the dark moon viper. Such powerful energy. Lin Feng was pleasantly surprised. In terms of energy, it was far more powerful than the blue lightning holy chi and the red fire holy chi. This should be the third level of dark holy chi. It's formed by the heart of darkness. Lin Feng remembered clearly that when he was shrouded in dark holy chi, his body was severely corroded. If the heart of darkness hadn't appeared and merged into his body, turning into this dark ball of light, he would have died long ago. Could this be the so-called cyclone? It doesn't look like it. Lin Feng murmured softly. Suddenly, they burst into laughter. That's right. The dark moon viper is a demon. Its structure is different from that of humans. Its cultivation method is also different. But how should I cultivate it? Can I cultivate the 7th level of the 9 Dragon scripture? He would know once he tried. Lin Feng didn't hesitate and immediately started cultivating. In an instant, whoosh, endless dark power surged in from all directions. Even though Lin Feng had cultivated a lot of Saint Chi, he was still shocked by it. His body was extremely compatible with the dark energy. With the heart of darkness in his body as a bridge, they were perfectly connected. It was even more sensitive than the wheel passage in the Shiva temple. Hiss, hiss. Strands of dark energy flowed into his body, indirectly strengthening the soul of the earth. His cultivation speed was extremely fast. Even without the enhancement of the heart of darkness, he was still sensitive to dark energy. In terms of talent, it's almost dozens or even hundreds of times more powerful than the flame talent. Lin Feng was amazed. Cultivating with the 9 Dragon scripture of the fire element was much faster than the red fire holy chi. With the help of the heart of darkness, not even the crimson fire saint chi could compare to the heart of darkness. Light holy chi, dark holy chi. Lin Feng smiled. Huaxiao welcomed a new life. Humans also enjoyed a short period of peace. Lin Feng, who was in a state of recovery, lived in seclusion. He did not go to Shiva Sek's holy temple to cultivate, but stayed in Elemental City. Today's Elemental City was extremely lively. Not only was it the holy land of the Elemental Business Alliance, but it also held a pivotal position in ancient Huaxia. Although the demon experts were dead, the Dark Moon Serpent had perished, but Lin Feng didn't slack off because of this. Lin Feng continued to cultivate bitterly. While recovering his body, he also consolidated and strengthened his strength. His extraordinary performance in the battle with the Dark Moon Roar had already transformed into his own strength. When he was free, he accompanied his family in Ling-Er. Lin Feng's days were warm and fulfilling. Training field. Thanks for letting me win, brother, Lin Feng said with a smile. Huh? Lin Zhan laughed loudly. There was a gratified look in his eyes. I didn't expect that you, who had a weak physique when you were young, would have a stronger physique than me now. You've really surpassed me. It's just a fortuitous encounter. Lin Feng smiled and kept the 9U Thunderblade. He walked out of the training field with his brother. I didn't have your whipping and nurturing since I was young. I wouldn't have the current me. 3 years old determined one's age. One's personality determined one's life. He was sincerely grateful to his brother, Lin Feng. I'm very proud to be able to nurture such an outstanding brother like you. Lin Zhan's eyes lit up. I'm still far from that, brother. Lin Feng smiled and said, Still not strong enough? Lin Zhan smiled. Lin Feng shook his head. In his mind, the black-robed, lion-headed man's demon-like body and his domineering aura appeared compared to him. He wasn't worth mentioning at all. On the Nemo planet, the sickle demon was only a second-rate strong warrior. Also, it was in a perfect state. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. There was also the Dark Moon Serpent. It was just a high-level beast that was hunted by others and only knew how to hide. It was a beast commander that was one level higher than it. On the Nemo planet, they were just prey. Lin Feng sighed softly. After knowing the vastness of the universe and how powerful the civilization was, he realized how small he was. Even on Earth, he wasn't the strongest. Now, he still couldn't be compared to Senior Xiangyu, who broke the Holy Crystal Array. However, on Earth, and even on Mars in the future, his strength was destined to be mediocre, because there was no opponent and no challenge. Uffing. Lin Zhan's muscular figure was deep and powerful. Lin Feng was slightly stunned. He turned his head and looked at his brother, who had stopped walking for some reason. The two brothers looked at each other. Go, Lin Zhan suddenly said. Do what you want to do. Don't let yourself regret it. Home is your harbor. It's your support. It shouldn't be your burden. Lin Zhan's body was firm and firm. Gentleness flashed in his eyes. I've been wandering outside for the past few years. You're the one who protected this home and China. Now, it's my turn as the big brother. Lin Feng looked at his elder brother, Lin Zhan. The affection between brothers filled the air. There was no need to say anything. Everything was in his heart. Brother, thank you. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. Elemental City, Inner City. Lin Feng walked into the hall and saw a man dressed in a Zhongshan suit standing upright like a man of steel. Marshal. Lin Feng smiled and greeted him. Xiao Feng, how have you been? A smile appeared on Zhou Jingyi's face. He stretched out his hand. Marshal, you're still as handsome as ever. Lin Feng smiled and shook his hand. Please. The two of them sat down. They weren't unfamiliar with each other. They had fought side by side time and time again. Now, they could be called close comrades. Actually, Marshal, you don't have to care about me. Lin Feng smiled and shook his head. I believe that you have a reason for everything you do. You're always standing from the perspective of ancient Huaxia. Zhou Jingyi nodded and said, There are some things that I still need to give you an explanation for. I actually have reservations about country. We have to guard against their ambitions. I also understand why they're doing this. But now, they're very useful to ancient Huaxia. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Technology? Zhou Jingyi said softly. Country is willing to share all the core technology of the spaceship, including personnel. With a blazing light in his eyes, Zhou Jingyi continued. I've discussed it with Dean One. With these core technologies, the number of people we can migrate to Mars within 2 years will increase by 10 times. 10 times. Lin Feng was surprised and overjoyed. This was undoubtedly a leap forward. Moreover, there are still 2 years and 9 months before the Earth will encounter a great extinction disaster. There's no need to waste energy on M country in limited time. Zhou Jingyi said, squeezing their core technology as much as possible can help ancient Huaxia better survive this disaster. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. The Justice Marshal had considered the problem very thoroughly. Soon, they chatted for a while. By the way, Marshal, Lin Feng suddenly said, looking at Zhou Jingyi, there's something I need your help with. Oh, Zhou Jingyi showed a surprised expression. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Help me arrange it. I want to enter. The Great Wall of Sacred Remains. Chapter 332. The Great Wall of Saints. It was one of the 7 great sacred sites in the world. It had protected Huaxia to this day. To every Huaxia citizen, the Great Wall of Saints was sacred. It was like a sleeping dragon. Huaxia citizens were proud to be the descendants of the dragon, including Lin Feng himself. Ever since he was young, Lin Feng had hoped to see the Great Wall of Saints. He didn't want to see it in books. There was an inexplicable sense of familiarity. It was as if his heart was calling him. It was a special feeling that he didn't have in the other 6 great sacred sites. Is it because I'm a Huaxia citizen? Under the accompaniment of the Justice Marshal, Lin Feng slowly walked in through the passageway. There were military experts standing on both sides of the passageway. When they saw the legendary Lin Feng, all of their eyes were filled with fervor and respect. Lin Feng nodded at them. His steps were heavy. He hadn't even fought against the Dark Moon Serpent. Now that he was facing Huaxia's sacred site, he felt a little nervous. He walked in slowly. Doors opened one after another. Beep, beep, beep. The most advanced defense system in Huaxia had been verified. Whoosh. A light door opened at the end of the tunnel. Go in. Good luck, Zhou Jingyi said. Okay. Lin Feng nodded. He let out a sigh of relief and stepped in. The Great Wall of Saints. Many Huaxia experts had been there, but no one had uncovered its mysterious veil. However, this was a true sacred site. During the 6th Great Extinction, the 7 great sacred sites had unleashed powerful energy to protect the surrounding areas. Among them, the Bermuda Triangle was ranked 3rd in terms of area. In 2nd place was the Olympian Temple of Zeus. And the first one, whoosh, a tetrahedron-shaped tesseract appeared in Lin Feng's hand. It was half the size of his palm. Red, yellow, blue, and green emitted different energies. It was the tesseract sacred treasure that had severely injured the Dark Moon Serpent. It came from the treasure vault of Dragon Killing Island and was kept by the island lord. Unfortunately, the tesseract sacred treasure could only be controlled by sacred power. According to Martial Justice, this aberration magic cube sacred treasure came from the Great Wall of Saints. Lin Feng's eyes were filled with curiosity and anticipation. It wasn't just the mutated magic cube sacred treasure. There was also Lord True Martial Emperor. His defensive sacred treasure, the Taiji Taoist robe, also came from the Great Wall of Saint remains. It was the legendary ancient martial arts of Huaxia. Even the origin of China was related to the Great Wall of Saints, mysterious and powerful. In order to enter the Great Wall of Saint remains, one must first possess the strength of a legend rank expert. Secondly, they must be of Huaxia blood. Only when both conditions are met can one truly enter the sacred remains. Lin Feng pondered. He had done his homework before coming here. Unfortunately, there wasn't much information left behind. Everyone from ancient Huaxia who had entered the sacred site had already fallen. Other than himself, both Li Jixing and his brother were qualified to enter, but the former was cultivating in a Shiva temple, while his brother had returned to the Temple of Zeus. In Big Brother's words, he wasn't in a hurry. It wouldn't be too late for him to enter when his strength had reached its limit. Step by step, he went deeper. The further down he went, the stranger Lin Feng felt. It was as if he was traveling through the starry sky. When he came to the universe, he felt so small, like a grain of sand in the universe. He had already expected the power of the sacred remains. Even the second-to-last Shiva temple of the 7 sacred remains was a godlike existence to him, not to mention the Great Wall of Saints. It's so familiar. I've never been here, but in my dream, I seem to have felt this powerful force. Lin Feng stopped, closing his eyes. He could clearly feel everything around him. The golden dragon in his heart seemed to roar in his body. The dragon soared up as if it had found its mother. The second level of the true dragon holy power was like a newborn dragon in front of this huge power of the sacred remains. His heart was calm. Inexplicably, his nervousness and worry disappeared. Lin Feng opened his eyes. A light flashed by and turned into a smile. Here, this was the sacred remains of the people of Huaxia. This place had always been guarding ancient Huaxia. What was there for him to be nervous about? After walking for a long time, 1 hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours, Lin Feng did not know. He explored the boundless sacred remains. Feeling the powerful energy here, time seemed to pass very quickly. Not long ago, the golden dragon in his body was already excited and impatient. The calling became stronger and stronger. A faint light appeared in front of him. He finally saw the light. Are we there? Lin Feng smiled and walked over. His steps were calm and steady and powerful. In front of him, the golden light was shining like stars. What appeared in front of him was a golden bridge. The stars in the sky condensed into a boundless starry sky. The golden bridge spanned over the Milky Way, magnificent and magnificent. The bridge was dotted with silver light, like billions of fireflies. The scenery was dazzling and breathtaking. But Lin Feng had no time to appreciate the scenery, because on the golden bridge in front of him, there was a man in a golden robe. He had long black hair like a waterfall and a slight smile. Although he was just standing on the bridge, he gave off a feeling of heaven. Who was he? Why was there someone in the sacred remains? Lin Feng stared at the golden-robed man, feeling an inexplicable sense of familiarity and closeness. It was like the person who kept calling out to him in his dreams. Was it him? Junior Lin Feng greets Senior. Lin Feng bowed. No matter what, anyone who could be in the sacred remains was not ordinary. Etiquette could not be lacking. However, I've been waiting for you for a long time, little junior brother. The golden-robed man suddenly spoke with a gentle smile, like a spring breeze. It was a simple sentence. However, this made Lin Feng extremely shocked. Little junior brother? Did he have a master? Could it be that this golden-robed man was Senior Xiang Yu's disciple? Or was he related to the sacred remains pyramid? Various possibilities appeared in Lin Feng's mind. Puzzled, he said softly, Senior, could it be the wrong person? The golden-robed man smiled. Follow me. You'll know when you get there. The golden-robed man flicked his sleeves and turned around, walking forward. Although Lin Feng was full of doubts, he still followed. It was as if he was strolling in the universe. The magnificent world was majestic. Lin Feng followed behind the golden-robed man. The giant golden dragon in his body was excited, as if it was resonating with him. Lin Feng looked at the golden-robed man's back and vaguely felt a similar aura. However, it was much stronger than his. His strength was unfathomable. He's a Huaxian, Lin Feng thought to himself. Regardless of appearance, figure, or language, there was no doubt that he was a Huaxian. But did ancient Huaxia have such an expert? Even in the 5,000 years of history of Huaxia, there was no such existence. The strongest Huaxian martial artist he had seen was Senior Xiang Yu. But compared to this golden-robed man in front of him, it was like the difference between a firefly and the sun. Little junior brother, Lin Feng murmured. Chapter 333. You just walked past the Golden Sparrow Bridge. The golden-robed man's voice sounded. Lin Feng immediately pricked up his ears and listened carefully. The Golden Sparrow Bridge? Was it the magnificent and majestic golden bridge that spanned across the Milky Way that he had just seen? The Golden Sparrow Bridge is not only the connection between the outside world and here, but also a trial bridge. The golden-robed man's voice was gentle and calm. As long as the descendants of Huaxiao reach the standard, they can enter the Golden Sparrow Bridge and choose a holy treasure according to their performance in the trial. Lin Feng understood. No wonder Senior True Martial Emperor had the Taiji Taoist robe, and the Lord of Dragon Killing Island got the Rubik's Cube holy treasure. However, why would the Lord of Dragon Killing Island choose the Rubik's Cube holy treasure? The last person who entered the Golden Sparrow Bridge was lucky enough to pass the second level. Although he failed, the holy treasure rewarded was one level higher than the first level. However, he was too greedy. The Golden Robe Man smiled and said, "Each level has 3 holy treasures to choose from. For example, in the second level, the first choice is the most suitable mid-level holy treasure. The second choice is the most suitable high-level holy treasure, and the third choice is the unsuitable top-level holy treasure." He chose the top-level holy treasure. As the Golden Robe Man's voice fell, Lin Feng's heart suddenly trembled. Him, the last person who entered the Golden Sparrow Bridge. Wasn't he the Lord of Dragon Killing Island? After going around in circles, this top-level holy treasure ended up in your hands. The Golden Robe Man turned around and smiled. As expected, Lin Feng smiled back. He had guessed that this Rubik's Cube holy treasure was not ordinary. It had 4 types of energy and 4 types of attack power. He only used the first type, the weakest red. A top-level holy treasure was obviously 1 level higher than a high-level holy treasure. However, Senior True Martial Emperor and the Lord of Dragon Killing Island had both entered the Golden Sparrow Bridge trial. Why was he an exception? Because I'm your junior brother? Lin Feng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He asked, "Senior, when I was unconscious, I vaguely heard a voice. Were you calling me?" "Yes." The Golden Robe Man smiled and said, "Speaking of which, you and I are related by blood." Bang! Lin Feng's eyes widened. What did he mean by shocking people? He had learned a thing or two. Calling him junior brother didn't mean much, but blood relations? Did he hear wrongly? "Is your mother surnamed Ji?" The Golden-Robed Man asked. Lin Feng nodded in a daze. Is it recorded in the Ji family's ancient records that only one of the Ji family's ancestors managed to cultivate the 7th level of the 9-dragon scripture? The Golden-Robed Man smiled. Could it be? Lin Feng's expression changed. The Golden-Robed Man did not stop. In an instant, an overwhelming power surged. 9 pure golden dragons suddenly soared into the sky behind the Golden-Robed Man. They were ferocious and enormous, and their auras were astonishing. Each of the golden dragons had the power to destroy the heavens and the earth. They were much more powerful than the Dark Moon Drake. Lin Feng felt like he was suffocating. The shock in his heart exploded like a bomb. It was too shocking. 9 Dragons Sutra, level 9. Lin Feng murmured. No wonder he felt that the Golden-Robed Man was very familiar. He was not just using the 9-dragon scripture. Moreover, it was exactly the same as her True Dragon Saint power. Pah! The 9 dragons soared into the sky and instantly disappeared. I haven't used it for a long time. I'm a little rusty. The Golden-Robed Man turned around and looked at Lin Feng. He smiled and said, "My surname is Ji. You can call me Senior Brother Xinyuan." Ji, Xinyuan? Senior Brother Xinyuan. Lin Feng was stunned. "We're here," Ji Xinyuan said. Lin Feng looked ahead. There was a faint layer of fog that blocked his vision. As Senior Brother Xinyuan entered the fog, it was as if he had entered a magical place. The surrounding space changed, but with just a few steps, he passed through the fog. It was extremely magical. Lin Feng took a light breath. There was a light at the end of the tunnel. He passed through the fog. What appeared in front of him was a palace that stood in the starry sky. Its golden color revealed nobility. Golden dragons circled around the palace. They were very lively. The palace seemed to be above the starry sky. It was too high to reach. "Do you know why Lion King didn't accept you as a disciple?" Ji Xinyuan asked. "Lion King?" Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. The black-robed Lion Man instantly appeared in his mind. "Because he didn't dare to accept you." Ji Xinyuan looked at the starry palace in front of him. The golden dragons seemed to be riding on clouds above the palace. "Teacher has already set the rules. Anyone who awakens the true dragon bloodline and obtains the true dragon holy power will be his disciple. I see. Lin Feng nodded in realization. He couldn't help but smile. He didn't dare to accept him. Neil, junior brother. Ji Xinyuan looked over with a serious expression. Count out a teacher 3 times. Lin Feng was slightly stunned. He wasn't stupid. He immediately understood. In fact, there was nothing to think about. Becoming a junior brother was only beneficial to him. There was a huge difference between having a teacher and not having a teacher, especially his future teacher. He was probably an incredible super mighty figure. Knock, knock, knock. Lin Feng performed the ceremony of acknowledging a master. All right, you can get up. Ji Xinyuan smiled faintly. It's just a formality. After the ceremony, we'll be a family in the future. Senior and junior brothers must love each other without any distinction. You are the last to enter the sect. You are ranked 32nd. Currently, you are the youngest junior brother. 32nd. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. In other words, he had 31 senior brothers? I am ranked 18th. Ji Xinyuan introduced. Teacher is known as the true dragon monarch. He is a mighty figure in the universe. He had 32 disciples, including you. Now, Ji Xinyuan paused. Only 3 remain. What about the others? Lin Feng's expression was a little strange. Eldest senior brother to 7th senior brother were the first to follow teacher to cultivate. Ji Xinyuan had a look of pity on his face. It's a pity that some of them died, and some of them went missing. The 8th senior brother was the previous successor, and he left 4,700 years ago. The 9th senior brother to the 17th senior brother, and the 19th junior brother to the 31st junior brother didn't pass the test and died. Test? Lin Feng suddenly felt like he had boarded a pirate ship. It was so easy to become a disciple, but there must be more to it. Judging from a number of deaths, the test was extraordinarily difficult. Senior brother Xinyuan was ranked 18th. He was 4,700 years older than him. In other words, in the past 4,700 years, there had been 13 people like him who had obtained the true dragon saint power and reached the title level. But without exception, all of them died. Are you scared? Ji Xinyuan asked. Lin Feng smiled and shook his head. No, it's interesting. He longed for challenges and battles, especially after seeing so many mighty figures in the boundless universe. He knew he was insignificant. Lin Feng had something to protect in his heart, a hot-bloodedness that was unwilling to be ordinary. His desire to become strong had never stopped. Life was about breaking through the limits. The death rate was indeed high, less than 10%. But 8th senior brother and senior brother Xinyuan were still alive, which proved that the test was not impossible. If so, what was there to be afraid of? Since both senior brothers could complete the test, then he could do it too. Chapter 334. Looking at the Starry Palace, Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He could feel its majesty like a supreme palace. But why did he have to kowtow to the palace? Also, 8th senior brother left 4,700 years ago. He was the previous inheritor. Obviously, senior brother Xinyuan was the current inheritor. Then, Master Sovereign True Dragon. Lin Feng was deep in thought. Although he didn't reject the test, he should know more about the sect now that he had joined. Senior brother Xinyuan, I have a question, but I don't know if I should ask. Lin Feng hesitated and looked at Ji Xinyuan. Ji Xinyuan's eyes flashed. How could he not know what Lin Feng was thinking? He sighed softly. Actually, Master, suddenly, boom. There was a loud sound. It sounded like thunder, shaking one's soul. Ji Xinyuan kept his mouth shut and patted Lin Feng's shoulder. Follow me. Lin Feng nodded. He understood and didn't ask anymore. He followed senior brother Xinyuan. There were some things that he didn't have a right to know. Leaving the fog array, Lin Feng returned to the starry sky. It was boundless. Relax, junior brother. Ji Xinyuan smiled and said, Teacher has always been unconventional, so there aren't many rules in the sect. Whether it's good or evil, it doesn't matter. According to what teacher said, every expert should have a path that suits them. Lin Feng nodded. Although he hadn't met Master Sovereign True Dragon, he heard senior brother Xuanyuan's description and knew that he was a carefree person. Therefore, Master doesn't care about accepting disciples. Ji Xinyuan raised 3 fingers. First, he doesn't care about cultivation. Second, he doesn't care about behavior. Third, he doesn't care about personal matters. As the saying goes, Master can show you the way, but it's up to you to cultivate. Lin Feng smiled. This master that he had never met was quite open-minded. Then, what does Master care about? Lin Feng asked curiously. Ji Xinyuan smiled and nodded. He still raised 3 fingers. 3 things. First, cultivation techniques. Second, treasure fights. Third, killing of fellow disciples is forbidden. Third, which is also the only rule, must not be violated. Yes, senior brother, Lin Feng replied, not caring about anything. He more or less understood his teacher, the true dragon sovereign. First of all, he had to be Chinese and had awakened the true dragon bloodline. Obviously, this true dragon bloodline had something to do with his teacher, the true dragon sovereign. As for nurturing them, the true dragon king was not stingy. Cultivation techniques, battle treasures, everything was complete, but success or failure depended on one's fate. But to face a test of life and death upon entering the sect, wouldn't that be a little unreasonable? Senior brother, can you tell me what teacher's test is? Lin Feng asked. Brother Xinyuan gave her a gentle feeling. He was like a benevolent senior and also like a big brother. They were very close, not to mention that they were related by blood. There was nothing to be afraid of when chatting with senior brother Xinyuan. Ji Xinyuan shook his head. This is not teacher's test. Master only took in 8 disciples, from eldest senior brother to 8th senior brother. The rest of the senior brothers and junior brothers were all taken in by Zhao. Ji Xinyuan smiled helplessly, because he has to check for teacher and get rid of some senior brothers and junior brothers that he thinks are not qualified. Zhao. Lin Feng looked around. Don't look for him. He can see you. You can't see him. Ji Xinyuan glanced at the sky. You should have felt his presence just now. Zhao is the master of this place. Or, this place is his home. Sacred site, the Great Wall. Lin Feng nodded. He was still wondering why such a carefree person like the true dragon sovereign didn't care about his disciples. He was a good teacher that couldn't be found anywhere. Why would such a teacher set a test that had a 90% chance of death? It was too contradictory. Zhao, Lin Feng murmured. He should be the soul of the Great Wall of the sacred site. I haven't seen him for more than 4,700 years. Ji Xuanyuan's eyes flashed. The last time I saw him was the first time I saw him. It was when I was sending 8th senior brother off. Lin Feng was stunned. 4,700 years. Lin Feng found it hard to imagine. This time span was far beyond his imagination. He was only born 19 years ago. Zhao has already transcended life and death. A few thousand years is just a blink of an eye to him. He has studied chess or comprehended arrays for tens of thousands of years. Ji Xinyuan looked nostalgic. Even 8th senior brother hasn't seen Zhao more than 10 times in hundreds of millions of years. Lin Feng was stunned. Hundreds of millions of years? Did he hear it wrong? How long has human history been? Ji Xinyuan turned his head. Unlike us, 8th senior brother is the 2nd generation of humans on Earth. After the Great Extinction, no one was spared. After hundreds of millions of years, our generation was born. We are the 3rd generation of humans on Earth. Lin Feng nodded blankly. He suddenly realized that 4,700 years was very short. Although he had read history, he only knew that the Jurassic civilization was the era when dinosaurs dominated Earth. He didn't know that before dinosaurs, there were humans who had been born. Moreover, there were 2 generations. Lin Feng's heartbeat quickened. He felt that it was unbelievable. Come to think of it, Earth was already 5 billion years old. After such a long period of time, why did human civilization only appear now? 1 billion years ago, there was water, atmosphere, plants, spiritual energy, and all kinds of resources. Since humans could appear now, why couldn't they exist in the past? It was like a seed that sprouted, grew, and dropped seeds. Generation after generation. He didn't delve into this question. What Lin Feng had to face now was how to pass the test and survive. He thought that 8th senior brother and senior brother Xinyuan had passed the test. However, he suddenly realized that it wasn't as he thought. 8th senior brother was the last disciple that Master personally accepted. He didn't pass the test. As for senior brother Xinyuan, in his words, at that time, there was a little trick. 8th senior brother was tired. He had been waiting here for a new successor for hundreds of millions of years. However, he couldn't disobey Master's order. Therefore, he helped a little in the 3rd test. Otherwise, according to senior brother Xinyuan, the probability of him passing the test was estimated to be less than 1%. It was very difficult. Lin Feng could also understand that she was an existence who had lived for hundreds of millions of years. He had traveled the entire universe with Master. From eldest senior brother to 7th senior brother, all of them were peerless geniuses in the universe. There were more than billions of planets like Earth. Selecting talents from the entire universe was naturally different from selecting talents from a small planet. It wasn't that the test was difficult. Qi's vision was too high. "We're here." Ji Xinyuan stopped. He turned to look at Lin Feng with a gentle smile in his eyes and nodded. "Good luck." There are a total of 3 tests. The difficulty of each test is doubled. "Come out alive, junior brother." Lin Feng clenched his fist and nodded with a smile. "Wait for me, senior brother Xinyuan." Chapter 335. It was a path to the unknown. In front of him, all kinds of strange colors flashed. Lin Feng did not hesitate to enter. Since he had become a disciple and embarked on this path, then he would walk it to the end. Intuition told him that the harder the path, the greater his future achievements would be if he could walk it. Senior brother Xinyuan mentioned before, the test was set up by Hui, including the Golden Sparrow Bridge, the 3 tribulations, and 3 lives path. Everything here is under his control. Very strong, even if he was just a spirit. The difficulty is different. It is determined according to the level of strength. I am at the legend level. Lin Feng pondered. This was his only advantage. Although his strength was not strong, it was enough to cross a level and be comparable to a high-level demon beast. But this did not mean anything. Earth was first. It was probably an inconspicuous existence in the Milky Way, not to mention the vast universe. However, everything depends on effort. We can definitely pass. Lin Feng's conviction was incomparably firm. He had survived the 2 disasters on Earth, so how could he fall here? One side, one world. The lake and mountains were beautiful. Lin Feng looked at the scenery in front of him and was a little stunned. There was no cruel trial like he had imagined, and there were no endless demon beasts pouncing on him. The fresh air, the green willows, the peach blossoms, and the fragrance was pleasant. The breeze blew, and the fallen leaves were scattered. It was like a peaceful paradise. However, reality was always cruel. In 3 days, raise the true dragon saint power to the 3rd level. The calm voice resounded and fell clearly into Lin Feng's ears. It was like a huge stone thrown into a calm lake, and the water rippled. 3 days. Lin Feng's heart trembled. The first test was already beyond his expectations. It was early in the morning, and the sky had just brightened. According to senior brother Xinyuan, the timescale was consistent with the outside world, and it was not difficult to distinguish. Senior brother Xinyuan did not disclose the content of the test. He did not ask, because what should be said could be said. He believed that senior brother Xinyuan must have told him everything. Let's look around first. Lin Feng was not in a hurry and jumped on the flying sword. In an instant, he broke through the air. First, to explore the environment. Second, to see if there were any demon beasts around. Third, to find a safe place to cultivate. Outside the world. Aren't you worried? A loud voice rang out. How can I not be worried? Ji Xinyuan smiled bitterly and shook his head. If I miss out on 32nd junior brother, I'm afraid I'll follow in 8th senior brother's footsteps when the great extinction comes 2 years later. I've waited for hundreds of millions of years. A bitter laugh rang out. If only I could be as strong as 8th senior brother. Ji Xinyuan revealed a look of admiration. He can even break through your array formation and barrier and forcefully change the fate of humanity. If he hadn't appeared and insta-killed great sky fiend Chi-Yu, the third generation of humans would have long been wiped out. Ha! Laughter rang out. How could he be so benevolent and righteous? It's just that he's been stifled for hundreds of millions of years. Ji Xianyuan smiled and sighed. However, the bloodline of the third generation of humans on Earth is indeed much weaker than that of the second generation of humans. If it is passed down to the fourth generation, it is hard to imagine. A low starting point does not necessarily mean that your achievements will be low. Chi's voice was deep and resonant, returning to one's natural state. Everyone's background is actually the same. Ji Xianyuan nodded thoughtfully. Lake World. Oh, there's so many lakes. Lin Feng circled around. He saw at least thousands of jade green lakes. The lake water was clear and bright, but he didn't know what was in the lake. On Earth, Lin Feng knew very well that lakes, rivers, and seas had dense groups of monsters wherever there was water. He had suffered a lot because of this. There were thousands of jade green lakes here. If there was nothing in the lake, was it normal? There must be a secret in the lake. Lin Feng thought to himself. However, he wasn't in a hurry to explore. 3 days was rather tight. He had to make good use of every minute and second. Lin Feng's figure flashed and instantly landed on a 300-meter tall mountain peak. It wasn't considered high, but it was already the tallest mountain he had seen in the lake world. Ha! Lin Feng sat cross-legged. The 6th level of the Heartless chart was instantly activated. This was the only talent soul cultivation technique he knew. He had asked the Justice Marshal before. There was indeed a super heaven-ranked Heart Sutra for cultivating talent souls. It was the Sunflower Manual. However, it had already disappeared. Even if it hadn't disappeared, he couldn't cultivate it. Hiss, hiss. Waves of energy surged into his body and into his mind. Unlike on Earth, the energy here could be absorbed by the Golden Dragon. Even if it wasn't a Saint Power Heart Sutra and was only a Spiritual Power Heart Sutra, he could still see the Golden Dragon breathing. However, the increase in energy wasn't very obvious. The level of energy here is much higher than on Earth. It must be level 2 cosmic energy. But with my current absorption speed, it's harder than ascending to the heavens for the true dragon Saint Power to reach level 3. Lin Feng stood up, jumped onto the flying sword, and sped away. The test would definitely be full of twists and turns. This was already within his expectations. Find the sacred fruit, a sacred treasure level fruit. The cosmic energy is so abundant. There must be a sacred fruit like the flaming scale fruit. Eating it can instantly increase one's crimson fire sacred aura. With his experience in the ancient divine territory, Lin Feng was calm. He looked around carefully as he sped away, looking for the sacred fruit. Soon got it. Lin Feng swooped down. His right hand flashed, and an orange transparent fruit appeared in his hand. Ha! Lin Feng swallowed it directly. It melted in his mouth. There was a faint taste of honey, but there was a hint of bitterness. Instantly, Lin Feng's eyes widened. His heart was chilled, and a surge of energy came from the bottom of his heart, strengthening his strength. It's the wood energy of the 5 elements. Lin Feng could clearly identify it. Continue searching. Fire energy, light energy, wind energy. In the next half an hour, Lin Feng found 8 sacred fruits. But none of them belonged to the true dragon Saint Power. None of them even had any Saint Power. Even if it's the flaming scale fruit, I need 16 of them to obtain the Crimson Fire Sacred Aura. If you want to go from a 2nd to the 3rd level, you'll need 1,600 of them. Not to mention that I can't find any sacred fruit with true dragon Saint Power. Even if I do, I can't find 1,600 of them. Lin Feng nodded. Although the cosmic energy here was much higher than on Earth, it was still far from the ancient divine territory. The number of sacred fruits here was incomparable. Lin Feng pondered. The first test was to increase the true dragon Saint Power in a short period of time. If the method of finding the sacred fruit didn't work, then the most reliable method now was a place of cultivation. Different regions of energy had different cultivation efficiency. Lin Feng knew very well. When he was in the ancient divine territory, ice and fire elemental energy were the most active and absorbed the fastest in the river of ice and fire. It was even more obvious in the wheel passage in the Shiva temple. There is only one type of holy chi in every roulette channel. How could the cultivation speed not be fast? And here, the key is indeed in these jade blue lakes. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Chapter 336. Outside the world. He entered the dragon-devouring lake. Zheng's voice was heard. Not surprising. Ji Xuanyuan's expression was calm. From the 19th junior brother to the 31st junior brother, 11 of the 13 entered the dragon-devouring lake. 5 left for passed the test, and 2 died in the dragon-devouring lake. Zheng's voice was calm. To him, life and death were too many for him, and he was already numb to it. It seems simple, but it's actually the most difficult. Ji Xuanyuan's eyes were bright. The simplest one is on the southernmost cliff of the 10,000 Lakes world. The northernmost True Dragon Valley nurtures rich True Dragon Saint power, which can be absorbed in large amounts. I remember that you went to the north. Zheng said. Ji Xuanyuan nodded. But now that I think about it, there are 5 ways to pass the test in the 10,000 Lakes world. 7. Zheng said calmly. Ji Xuanyuan nodded. The rest are in the 10,000 Lakes world? Yes. Zheng replied. There are 2 sides to everything. It seems simple, but it's actually difficult. It seems difficult, but there are gains. It all depends on what you choose. Ji Xuanyuan's eyes flashed. He made a soft sound, as if he was deep in thought. If you were to choose again, would you still go to the north? Zheng suddenly asked. Ji Xuanyuan raised his head and smiled. Yes. Oh, what? Zheng was surprised. Ji Xuanyuan's eyes were filled with wisdom. Because of this, I am who I am now. The 10,000 Lakes world. Lin Feng plunged into the dragon-devouring lake. He couldn't tell the result just by looking. He had to try to find out. Although Lin Feng was skilled and daring, he was always careful. He didn't choose a big lake for the first time, but the Jade Lake, which was relatively small. It was better to be safe than sorry. As soon as he entered the lake, Lin Feng's eyes widened. The clear and bright Jade Lake. He still didn't see any monsters or demonic beasts. But this lake water? Lin Feng's heart trembled. It was extremely sticky. The lake water sucked his body in like a magnet. It was as if leeches were attached to his body. It was extremely uncomfortable. Not only that, in his sea of consciousness, the golden dragon's power seemed to have been sucked away, and even its spiritual energy instantly dried up. Not good. Lin Feng condensed his crimson fire holy chi. This fire scale holy garment was lent to him by his elder brother. The original one was almost completely destroyed in the battle with the Dark Moon Centipede. It was fragmented, just like the black vest left by the sickle demon. As the crimson fire Saint Chi bloomed, the fire scale Saint Robe shone. The power of fire separated the lake water. How strange, Lin Feng said softly. His eyes, however, shone with an even stronger hope. The weirder it was, the more peculiar it was, the more it proved that he had come to the right place. Compared to trying his luck, he preferred to be down to earth and fight for it. There is definitely more than one method. There are definitely other possibilities beyond the thousands of Jade Lake, but there must be a way to pass the test here. Lin Feng nodded to himself. Previously, he had only been suspicious. But now there was something strange about the Jade Lake. This made him 90% certain. Find out the truth. The lake was clear and translucent. Lin Feng soon reached the bottom of the lake. Strangely, there were no monsters here. There were only plant life. So strange. Lin Feng came to a patch of seaweed. He took a light green seaweed, held it in his hand, and then took a bite and fell into his stomach. There was nothing special about the faint coolness. Lin Feng's curiosity was piqued. He looked around for any other suspicious spots, but he didn't find anything. Let's go to the other Jade Lake. Lin Feng left. The second one, the third one, the fourth one. Lin Feng's exploration continued. The area of the lake he explored. It was also increasing from mid-low to mid-high. It gradually climbed to mid-high. Swoosh! Like an arrow, it shot straight at him. Lin Feng's eyes lit up in an instant. Instead of being shocked, he was happy. Not far away, there was a jade-like seaweed. Its branches were like whips, as if they were condensed from slender jade. Lin Feng grabbed it with his hand and suddenly felt a strong, pulling force. The strength was definitely greater than a high-level title. With a thought, Lin Feng gave up his defense and followed the jade seaweed. In an instant, "Pa!" Lin Feng's body tensed up. The countless branches of a jade seaweed wrapped around him tightly. The power was quickly absorbed, and the one that disappeared the fastest was the true dragon holy power. The jade seaweed let out a happy sound, as if it was enjoying the most delicious food. As the true dragon holy power was absorbed, the jade bloomed with bright colors. "Oh!" Lin Feng smiled. In an instant, the fire scale holy robe lit up. The crimson fire holy chi burned fiercely. The jade seaweed's branches cracked, and the jade shattered. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He felt the rich, true dragon holy power flowing out like nectar. The corner of his mouth raised into a smile. Lin Feng directly went for the jade seaweed with the 9 serenities thunderblade in his hand. Chi, 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 clean and neat. This jade seaweed had the strength of a nuclear bomb commander at most. It was too far away from Lin Feng, but it fought until the end. Lin Feng grabbed the jade seaweed's branches and put the remaining crystal-clear liquid into his mouth. Threads of heart-piercing coldness turned into an incomparably powerful energy that flowed into his sea of consciousness and into his brain. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He took all the jade seaweed's branches and absorbed the nectar. It was sweet and tasty and even more powerful. The only fly in the ointment was too little. Most of it was lost in the battle. "Oh!" Lin Feng showed a bitter expression. He chewed on the jade seaweed's main stem. It was bitter and difficult to endure. He swallowed with all his might, but there were only threads of true dragon holy power stored. Not even 1% of the jade seaweed's branches were left. But this was just icing on the cake. The important thing was that this jade seaweed could store true dragon holy power. The lake water can absorb my true dragon holy power. Then it must be able to absorb the true dragon holy power in the air or through other means. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. The plants in the lake absorb the energy of the lake water to grow. This is their air. So, some of the plant life will naturally have true dragon holy power. Lin Feng smiled. He had finally found it. In the lake. Chi! Lin Feng cut off one of the jade seaweed's branches. Bang! Lin Feng grabbed the broken jade seaweed and dripped it in his mouth. The jade seaweed in front of him attacked even more fiercely. This jade seaweed was a few times bigger than the previous one. Bang! Lin Feng's crimson fire holy chi burst out, but it couldn't break the bindings. Crack! The fire scale saint garment caved in. Lin Feng's hand flashed with lightning, and the 9U thunderblade struck. Boom! After a while, "It's a bit troublesome." Lin Feng looked at the fire scale saint garment. After a long battle, it would definitely be damaged. The fire scale saint garment was already damaged at the beginning. If this continued, the fire scale saint garment would be destroyed before the true dragon holy power reached the 3rd level. Plant life was very resilient. Unless you killed it completely, it would continue to pester you. On the other hand, when it was completely dead, the nectar contained within the jade had already been almost completely consumed. "I have to think of a way," Lin Feng thought. Chapter 337. Perhaps I should take advantage of its disadvantage in speed. Cut off one of the branches, then widen the distance and absorb it before it runs out of true dragon saint power. "Let's do that." Lin Feng nodded secretly. It was a bit troublesome, but it was still a method. It was a pity that his pair of blood-red engraved boots could not be used in the water. Otherwise, it would not be so troublesome. He could use the power of the wind to dodge to the extreme. But now, after thinking about it, it seemed that this was the only method left. He would know once he tried it. Chi! He cut off a section of the jade branch. Lin Feng retreated with lightning speed. The jade algae moved in an instant, as if it was angry, and chased after him. The jade branch in his hand shone brightly, burning true dragon saint power to attack. Lin Feng immediately dripped bejeweled nectar into his mouth. However, it did not increase much. The key was that the jade algae itself was like a mother body. As long as it did not die, all the branches would not die. Its vitality was extremely strong. Soon, Lin Feng killed the jade stone algae. It contained a lot of true dragon saint power. This method was indeed twice the amount of true dragon saint power obtained from killing the jade algae. But at the same time, the time consumed was also twice as long. In fact, there was no difference. Lin Feng searched for the jade algae while thinking of other methods. After a while, he went around the small lake. Although the lake was big, there were not many plant life, and there were only 3 that had basic instincts like the jade algae. He entered another dragon-devouring lake. The resources were quite abundant. For Lin Feng, it would take more than 3 days to explore the thousands of jade lake one by one. Wow! Lin Feng's eyes lit up. This jade ripple lake. The area was 4 times larger than the previous lake, almost a large lake. Entering it, it was indeed different. Not only did the binding pressure increase, but he also saw 2 jade algae not long after entering. Profound Thunderhell. Lin Feng immediately used a group attack saber move to deal with the jade algae. The Spring Thunder Berserk Centipede's attack alone was not enough. Its vitality was so strong that it had no weaknesses. It spread out to every part of the stem, leaves, and branches. In order to kill it completely, one would either have to destroy it directly or attack it from all sides. Experience was accumulated through battle. Bang! 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 Although the jade algae was strong, how could it be Lin Feng's match? It was killed in a few moves. Broken jade branches were scattered all over the place. Lin Feng's speed was extremely fast as he absorbed the energy one by one. Within his sea of consciousness, the golden dragon roared as if it was in high spirits. If I don't ask for the method and simply kill and absorb it, can the true dragon saint power reach the 3rd tier in 3 days? Lin Feng thought to himself. He couldn't be sure. After all, he had only killed 5 jadestone algae. Continue. The 10th plant. The 11th plant. That's all. Lin Feng swept through the entire lake. Compared to the previous lake, there were a lot more jade algae. Moreover, there was more energy in general. After absorbing a total of 11 jadestone algae, Lin Feng more or less had a rough idea in his heart. 3 days, 72 hours. This means that every hour I have to increase my true dragon saint power by at least 1%. Half an hour has passed, but the increase is less than 0. 5. Difficult. Lin Feng made a clear judgment. Even if he increased his speed and went all out, it would still be difficult. Moreover, energy would be consumed. It was impossible for him not to recover after each battle. If all this time was taken into account, he estimated that he could only complete half of it in 3 days. Yes, I still have to find the right method. Lin Feng nodded secretly. The true dragon saint power contained in the jade algae was less than 20% absorbed each time. It was too wasteful, not to mention absorbing it fully. If he could absorb 50%, it would be very easy to complete the first test in 3 days. However, was there any other method? Whoosh! Lin Feng headed towards the lake. His gaze swept across the lake, looking at the plants and the water. He vaguely understood something in his heart, but he couldn't say it out. The 3rd plant, the 4th plant, the 5th plant. The jade lake Lin Feng chose was getting bigger and bigger. Continuous exploration, continuous analysis, continuous advancement, and the truth. Lin Feng believed that the test was discovered. If he didn't experiment, how could there be a result? Previously, he had to search everywhere before he found the jade algae. But now, perhaps, he could find a plant life that was similar to the jade algae but different. The bigger the lake, the more plant life there were. Algae water plants. This is the fallen lake lotus? With thick stems so big. Lin Feng was stunned, and his eyes lit up. The huge emerald green fallen lake lotus in front of him was comparable to 10 jade algae. It floated in the air, and one could see the energy it contained just by looking at it. Chi! Lin Feng didn't hold back. He raised his sword, and the huge fallen lake lotus was cut in half. Lin Feng grabbed the plump stem and bit it. Chi! The juice of the stem was refreshing and sweet. It went straight into his heart. Lin Feng couldn't help but smile. He felt the energy. Wisps of energy fell into his body. It was as clear as lake water, and waves condensed. Water Saint Chi. Lin Feng thought to himself. He immediately chewed on the stem that was dozens of meters long. There was no bitter taste, but it was as ripe as the jade algae. After a while, Lin Feng absorbed all the stems of the fallen lake lotus. It's not as good as the flaming scale fruit, but it can also produce close to 10% water Saint Chi. Lin Feng thought to himself. It was really good. He had eaten 16 flaming scale fruits that day to obtain the crimson fire Saint Chi. Moreover, the stem of the fallen lake lotus brought a slight chill to the body and strengthened the tenacity of the meridians, just like how the crimson fire Saint Chi improved the skin's defense. However, he seemed to have missed something. Lin Feng's brows knit together slightly, and the scene he saw in the ancient divine domain suddenly appeared in his mind. Numerous enormous flame-scale fruit trees that were like giants and possessed boundless strength. In terms of the level of plant life and the energy contained within them, they were obviously higher than this enormous emerald green falling lake lotus, and the jade algae couldn't even compare. But they didn't have consciousness. However, this low-level jade algae could attack and had elementary consciousness. Why? True Dragon Saint Chi. It's the sea of consciousness, the talent soul. Lin Feng's heart was moved, and he finally understood. Just like the elemental beasts on Earth, they were born with the soul of the earth, but only had elementary intelligence. Only when the soul of wisdom was awakened, and they broke through to become elite elemental beasts or monsters, would they have consciousness. The jade algae could absorb the true dragon Saint Chi, which meant that it had part of the existence of the talent soul. Of course, it was different from humans, just like how life was different. However, it must exist. If so, then I think I have a way. Lin Feng smiled. Chapter 338. Whoosh! The blood-red sparrow flew out. A giant golden dragon appeared behind Lin Feng, and the tesseract in his hand shone brightly. Driven by the sacred power, the tesseract in his hand unleashed the first level of power. The sacred power attack broke through the jade algae, and it was like an elemental beast's consciousness, instantly destroying it. The waving jade algae lost its vitality and dropped down. Chi! Lin Feng slashed with his thunder sword and cut open the jade algae. The nectar immediately entered his mouth, and it was unprecedentedly full and rich. It turned into pure energy and flowed into his mind. Lin Feng was nimble, and he absorbed the jade algae one by one. He was very happy. It was done easily. Instead of absorbing less than 20%, he absorbed more than 90% this time. A top-level sacred treasure. Lin Feng looked at the tesseract in his hand. The reward from the Golden Sparrow Bridge. The dragon-killing island lord's greed had helped him instead. It was so powerful that it could even severely injure the Dark Moon Viper, let alone ing. Alfalfa? 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 Way when ex-palanquin T-Bad Nabirada. It consumed too much energy. With his true dragon saint power, he could only use it once. Therefore, it was destined not to be a common attack. But it was different now. After killing the jade algae, the true dragon saint power that he consumed could be instantly replenished. Naturally, it was different. Although a portion of the jade algae's energy had to be consumed to replenish the true dragon saint power, the efficiency was 4 times higher than before. He had estimated that it would take 6 to 7 days, but now, if there are no accidents within 2 days, my true dragon saint power can be upgraded to the 3rd level. Lin Feng smiled. Outside the world, he has basically passed. Cheng's voice sounded. So fast. Ji Xinyuan was surprised. My grand disciple is indeed powerful. With the top-level sacred treasure, the soul-severing cube, the 1st level is too easy for him, Cheng said calmly. Ji Xinyuan smiled. The 1st level is about aptitude, attentiveness, and a little luck. Ji Xinyuan looked up and said, "Junior brother lacks all three. Even without the soul-severing cube, the first level can't trap him." Cheng didn't say anything, because Ji Xinyuan was speaking the truth. On the first day, Lin Feng easily completed 60% of the test. The next day, Lin Feng entered one of the two largest lakes in the 10,000 Lakes world. Unlike the other Blue Waves lakes, these two lakes took up an extremely large area. They were located in the east and west respectively, and their combined area was about 80% of the Pacific Ocean. Incomparably huge. The other Blue Wave lakes were not even a tenth of the size of these two. Lin Feng never lacked the spirit to take risks. Life is about challenges, about breaking through the limits. There were only 2 days left. He would be forced to leave this world of lakes. It would be a pity if he couldn't enter the largest lake to take a look. As far as Lin Feng was concerned, the first trial was basically no problem. Although there was still a 40% gap, how could there not be jade algae in the largest jade lake? The answer was obvious. Oh, what a huge jade algae! Lin Feng's eyes lit up. A place of soil and water, a place of life. The larger the lake, the larger the jade algae. The more energy it could absorb, the stronger it would be. But it had an obvious weakness. Even if the jade algae had advanced to the level of the dark moon python, it was still vulnerable. Whoosh! The blood-red sparrow pierced through. The water rippled, and the jade algae shook violently. The life force slowly disappeared. After absorbing this, the second level of the true Dragon Saint power can reach 80%. Lin Feng smiled and entered the largest lake. His efficiency increased instead of decreasing. In just 4 hours, he had absorbed another 20%. At this rate, it wouldn't even take half a day. Oh, there's another fallen lake lotus over there. Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he smiled. While killing the jade algae, he had also absorbed close to 10 fallen lake lotuses over the past day. He was very close to obtaining the Saint Chi of water. More Saint Chi meant more options. There was no harm in it. Even if he didn't cultivate, it could at least strengthen his body. He continued to explore. Lin Feng was in a good mood. Compared to the lakes and oceans on Earth, this place was much more peaceful. Although there were some plants similar to the jade algae that attacked him, such as the ones in the lake, they would bind him tightly and bind him. But after all, they were only a minority. But in the largest lake, the danger was indeed more than 10 times that of the other lakes. Boom! The red Rubik's Cube released its power, and a giant jade algae fell. Lin Feng let out a sigh of relief. This jade algae is almost as powerful as the dark moon python. The deeper he went into the lake, the more dangerous it was. Because the jade algae's power was increasing, the pressure of the lake was increasing. Soon, most of the Crimson Fire's Saint Chi was consumed. Dark Saint Chi. Lin Feng didn't care about the consumption. Dark Saint Chi was the most abundant in his body. The dark light ball seemed to have a life force, deep and mysterious. The bottom of the lake, what secrets could there be? Lin Feng was curious. It felt as if a pair of invisible hands had arranged this environment. The deeper he went, the more dangerous it was. It was as if something was deliberately hidden. Lin Feng was bold and went straight to the bottom of the lake. Suddenly, whoosh! Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Below him were green plants that looked like lanterns. It was very strange, as if they were planted in the mud at the bottom of the lake. The stems were dozens of meters long, but they were thin and boneless like willow branches. At the top were green spores that looked like lanterns, and they were tightly closed. Looking at it, there were at least a few hundred of them. Hiss, hiss, the green flower buds were strangely absorbing the surrounding energy. Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. His body's defensive energy was rapidly disappearing. It was inexplicably being devoured. The 9U Thunderblade suddenly appeared in his hand. Lin Feng's eyes flashed as he attacked directly. Spring thunderstorm. Bang! There was a violent tremor. Lin Feng's right arm went numb, and he quickly retreated. The recoil was abnormally strong. These green spore plants could not only absorb energy, but they also had a natural shield to protect them. Oh! Lin Feng was suddenly interested. Circling around the green flower spores, Lin Feng slowly tested them. These green flower spores did not have any attack power. To be precise, they did not have consciousness. Like the water plants in the lake, they were subconsciously acting instinctively. The water plants were restraints, and the green flower spores were protection. Something is strange. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. In a short time, a lot of dark holy qi had been consumed. Not only was the green flower spores absorbing it, but also the pressure of the lake. He had to end this quickly. The fifth strike, violent thunder, shocking the 9 heavens. Lin Feng's 9U Thunderblade unleashed its strongest power. In terms of individual attack power, the 8th strike was worthy of being called the Sky Thunder, slaying a true dragon. But in terms of cumulative attack power, not counting the blue lightning holy qi, it was the 5th strike. Boom, boom, boom. Lin Feng struck 9 times in a row, each strike stronger than the last. The green flower spore's defensive shield gradually faded until the 9th strike. Crack! The protective shield was shattered. Lin Feng's figure was unobstructed. In the middle of the green flower spores in front of him, there was only one white flower spore. That's it. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. To be continued. Chapter 339. The white spore was twice as big as the green spore. Moreover, it was not like the green spore, which would absorb all kinds of energy around it. Just this little difference was enough to explain. It had a secret. Qi. The 9 serenities Thunderblade fell. Along with the green spore, it was all cut down. Pa! The loss of the dark holy qi outside his body suddenly stopped. Lin Feng's figure flashed, and several green spore and the only white spore fell into his hands. The true dragon, Saint Power, opened the white spore like a pair of invisible hands, like a blooming flower. Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up. It was a transparent white pearl, as if it was the purest thing in the world, untainted by even a speck of dust. What is this? Lin Feng looked at it curiously. The transparent color, the milky white color inside, was like a dragon's shape, as if it contained some kind of energy, as if it was born from heaven and earth. Holding the white pearl in his hand, Lin Feng immediately put it into the storage ring. He did not understand, but senior brother Xin Yuan should know. As for the green spore, it's dark energy. This plant life is so strange. It actually contains dark energy. Lin Feng was also surprised. But the truth was that the green spore in his hand, as the true dragon Saint Power opened it, was not a pearl like the white spore, but a condensed energy. When it entered his body, it was instantly absorbed by the dark ball of light, clear as day. This white pearl is indeed not simple. Lin Feng thought. If the green spore was like this, how could the only white spore be ordinary? Dark energy, when condensed to the extreme, will form a white pearl. Lin Feng could not figure out why, but it did not stop him from continuing to collect. I just reached the bottom of the lake, and I saw this group of green spore. There must be similar things around. Lin Feng thought, even if it was not for the white pearl. Just the large green spore alone was worth the price of the ticket. That was quite an abundance of pure, dark energy. But before that, Lin Feng went straight to the surface of the lake. Recover his strength first. Outside the world. Oh, Ji Xuanyuan's voice was a little soft. Ji Xinyuan opened his eyes and couldn't help but smile. Looks like I guessed right. He has obtained the Dragon Abyss Pearl. And slowly said, so far, I've already obtained 3. A treasure from the 10,000 Lakes world, TSK. Ji Xuanyuan's eyes flashed. There's only one. You'll be able to obtain True Dragon Saint Energy. 3 condensed cyclones are rare treasures in the True Dragon Black domain, and they'll fetch quite a high price. On average, one matures every 10,000 years. When you entered the Wanhu world, there were 12. Now, 13 of them. Oh, he picked another 3. Ji Xinyuan sighed and shook his head. 29th junior brother died because of the Dragon Abyss Pearl. It absorbs energy too quickly and is extremely sticky. Once it has locked onto you, unless you leave the dragon-devouring lake, as long as there's water, its power will exist. Sometimes opportunities are not necessarily blessings, Dusk said. especially when you are not strong enough. Ji Xinyuan smiled and asked, "How is little junior brother, Zheng, beside dragon-devouring lake?" Phew, Lin Feng let out a light breath. The cultivation of the 7th level of the 9-dragon scripture had ended. Although the consumption of holy qi was huge, this place was different from Earth. The 2nd level of cosmic energy was powerful. Replenishing holy qi was easy, especially the recovery of dark holy qi. It was extremely fast. Right now, it had replaced the Crimson Fire holy qi as the best defensive power. Although there was no holy treasure defense, nor was there any profound meaning of darkness, it was enough to recover quickly. Blue Thunder holy qi recovered a little slowly. If there's a chance, I'll ask senior brother Xinyuan if there's a thunder attribute holy qi cultivation method. Lin Feng stood up. What he needed the most right now, it was the thunder attribute holy qi cultivation method. After all, the 9-dragon scripture was fire attribute. Moreover, his thunder attribute talent was average. But the purple thunder saber technique, 9U thunder saber technique, both required blue thunder holy qi to drive. It was related to his attack power. We'll talk about it later. This white pearl is not bad. It's always good to take more. Lin Feng smiled. In an instant, it was like a dragon entering the sea. The goal was clear. Lin Feng was not in a hurry. 3 days was more than enough for him. However, the lake was too big. It was almost half the size of the Pacific Ocean. No matter how fast he was, it was difficult to complete the exploration in less than 2 days. Lin Feng did not care. Anyway, he had already earned. Although this place was far from the ancient divine realm, it was at least safe. Moreover, the harvest was not small. To be able to gain something in the test, it was worth the trip. I wonder what I'll gain in the second test. Lin Feng galloped in the lake. He avoided the jadestone algae and turned around to leave. There was no need to waste time. The golden dragon in his sea of consciousness was completely saturated and was on the verge of a breakthrough. Any jade algae could be upgraded to the 3rd level. As early as the 2nd night, he had already completed the test. The reason why he did not upgrade immediately was because he wanted to earn more benefits. At the bottom of the lake, there were green spores that could enhance dark energy and strange white pearls. In the center of the lake, there were lake lotuses that could enhance water energy, blackwood bamboos that could enhance wood energy, sleeping lilies that could enhance flower energy, and so on. Among them, the most abundant and easiest to obtain were water and wood of the 5 elements, flower and mud of the true yin energy. In particular, the water energy was the most abundant. Lin Feng had already obtained the holy qi of water on the 2nd day. However, other than strengthening his body a little, it was not of much use. The key to holy qi was its essence, not its impurities. Even if there were 10 different types of holy qi, it would be difficult to compare to a single type of holy qi of the 2nd level. Sleeping lilies 36. Lin Feng continued to search. If I gather 40 of them and consume them, I will definitely obtain the holy qi of the true yin flower. He could not use it, but his sister Yu could use it, Ling could use it, and even his brother could use it. Everything was difficult at the beginning, and the cultivation of holy qi was even more so. That day in the St. Crystal Formation, Senior Xiang, you had spent a lot of effort to let him obtain holy qi because of this reason. Only after obtaining it could one be considered to have truly embarked on the path of cultivation. It's about time. Lin Feng opened his eyes. With the recovery of his holy qi, his body was now in peak condition. It was just dawn, and 3 days had passed without him noticing. There was almost an hour left before the test, and there was no need to be too strict about perfection. He had already obtained what he needed. After all, it was a test, and he had to leave some backup time. Swoosh! Lin Feng once again leapt into the Jade Lake. He was very familiar with this place, and it did not take him long to find a jade algae. Lin Feng smiled, and the Rubik's Cube in his hand shone. It's a pity that the branches of the jade algae cannot be stored, and the true dragon holy power will disappear. Otherwise, it would be great to bring it back. Lin Feng felt that it was a pity. In an instant, the blood-red sparrow pierced through the jade algae. Whoosh! The golden dragon roared as it soared behind Lin Feng. Chapter 340. Outside the world. Why? Lin Feng stepped out. It was as if he had passed through a bridge, or as if he had walked out of the lake world through a passage. Looking at the smiling senior brother Xin Yuan in front of him, Lin Feng smiled warmly. Although they had known each other for less than an hour, senior brother Xin Yuan gave him the feeling that they had known each other for thousands of years. Perhaps it was because they were connected by blood. I'm back, senior brother Xin Yuan. Lin Feng walked in front of senior brother Xin Yuan. You must have a bountiful harvest. Xin Yuan laughed. It's all right, Lin Feng said modestly. To senior brother Xin Yuan, what he had obtained in the world of the lake was like grass, just like how he had seen the gold coins that the commoners on Earth scrambled for. Different levels of strength, different horizons. How many dragon abyssal beads did you get? Xin Yuan asked. Dragon abyssal bead? Lin Feng's heart was moved, and he suddenly understood. The storage ring in his hand flashed, and the white pearl appeared. This? Xin Yuan smiled and nodded. This is a good thing. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. How good is it? Can I use it? He had originally wanted to ask senior brother Xin Yuan, so of course he wouldn't miss this good opportunity. Very good. Xin Yuan nodded his head. This is the most unique treasure in the 10,000 Lakes world. On average, only one matures every 10,000 years. However, to you, it is currently of no use. Suddenly, no, it's useful. A voice like the heavens resounded. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He raised his head and looked at the boundless starry sky, but he didn't know where Xin Yuan was. Xin Yuan, who was at the side, revealed a slightly surprised expression. Give me all 9 of them. Xin Yuan's voice was very calm and went straight into Lin Feng's ears. Yes, senior. Lin Feng nodded. Without the slightest hesitation or reluctance, he immediately took out the 9 dragon abyssal beads. Xin Yuan looked over with a hint of admiration. If this junior brother wasn't stupid, he would know the weight of what he had said just now. The most unique treasure in the 10,000 Lakes world. One that matured every 10,000 years. This was the Dragon Abyssal Pearl. But his junior brother did not hesitate at all. From this, one could see what kind of person he was. Chua! The 9 Dragon Abyssal Pearls disappeared, causing Lin Feng to exclaim in surprise. He did not even know how it disappeared. Chi's power had already surpassed his imagination. He wondered who was stronger compared to the Lion Waste King of the Divine Remains Pyramid? Continue. The second test. As soon as he finished speaking, he disappeared like the wind. Lin Feng smiled. Sure enough, he didn't even pause for a moment. But that was fine. Previously, he was afraid that the second test would be connected to the first test. Therefore, he only came out of the 10,000 Lakes world after his strength had recovered to its peak. Moreover, his true Dragon Saint power had advanced to the 3rd tier, and his strength had increased a little. Follow me, junior brother. Xin Yuan nodded and led the way. Lin Feng immediately followed. On the way, would you be reluctant? Xin Yuan asked. A little. Lin Feng laughed. After all, I don't even know what the Dragon Abyss bead is. However, I believe that there must be a reason why he did this. After all, he was not a saint. Moreover, according to senior brother Xin Yuan, only one matured every 10,000 years. It was definitely not ordinary. Xin Yuan smiled non-committally. He thinks highly of you. Lin Feng was extremely curious. Xin Yuan raised his head slightly and said softly, apart from the test and the necessary answer, guess the first time Qi spoke to me. When was it? 10 years after entering? Lin Feng probed. Xin Yuan shook his head. 100 years? Lin Feng said again. Xin Yuan turned his head. It's 2,730 years. Lin Feng was startled. He was filled with admiration. Senior brother Xin Yuan, you're amazing. 8th senior brother had left 4,700 years ago, which meant that senior brother Xin Yuan had been alone for 2,730 years. How could an ordinary person endure this kind of loneliness? Xin Yuan laughed. It's not what you think. There are 108,000 passages here that lead to 108,000 planets, regions, and civilized worlds. They basically cover every corner of the true Dragon Dark Zone. Ji Xinyuan said, for example, the world of 10,000 lakes that you entered is connected to a passage, but it's usually sealed. Sometimes to cultivate, sometimes to experience life, and sometimes to explore everywhere. Actually, hundreds and thousands of years have passed unknowingly. Lin Feng was shocked when he heard this. True Dragon Dark Zone? 108,000 passages? That was too exaggerated. Was this the Great Wall of Saints or a teleportation array between the planets? It could teleport? One eye-opener. All the space passages were set up by Master. Ji Xinyuan said, because the entire true Dragon Dark Zone is under Master's control. Ji Xinyuan looked at Ji Xinyuan. Master's power is far beyond your imagination. Even though 8th Senior Brother has cultivated for hundreds of millions of years, he's still far from Master's level. Lin Feng nodded. I'll tell you when I have a chance. Ji Xinyuan stopped. We're here. Looking at the space passage in front of him, Lin Feng took a deep breath. Presently, he already knew that this so-called test was actually every single spatial passageway that led to a completely different world. He was very curious. After experiencing the hardships of the world of 10,000 lakes, Lin Feng was more excited and expectant about the unknown second test than nervous. Of course, he clearly remembered the 3 tests that Senior Brother Xinyuan mentioned. Each test was twice as difficult. He did not underestimate it. Just like in a world of 10,000 lakes, it seemed easy, but it was not. If he did not have the magic cube, it would not be easy for him to pass the test. But the more difficult it was, the more motivated he was to challenge it and stimulate his potential. He was never afraid of challenges. I'll say the same thing. Ji Xinyuan looked over and nodded. Come out alive, Junior Brother. I'll say the same thing. Lin Feng smiled and clenched his fist. Wait for me, Senior Brother Xinyuan. The second test. Ji Xinyuan murmured, his eyes blurred. Back then, Junior Brother Fengxian's strength was better than Junior Brother's. He was also favored by Qi, but he lost in this test. Looking at Lin Feng entering, Ji Xinyuan sighed softly. As an inheritor, every time he sent away a Junior Brother, it was also a kind of torture for him. But Qi was the one who held the power of life and death, so he could not do anything. All he could do was wait for them silently. Moreover, this time was different. The real extinction was coming. If Junior Brother failed, he would be the only survivor of the 3rd generation of humans. Just like 8th Brother, he was the only 2nd generation human. Sai rules. Ji Xinyuan was helpless. He could not leave this place. Lin Feng entered the second test. What is this? As soon as he entered, Lin Feng felt that something was wrong. It was a gray color, and shrill sounds echoed in his ears. A chill appeared in his heart. A suffocating feeling hit him in the face. If the world of 10,000 lakes was a paradise, then this place was a paradise. A place where demons lived. At this moment, Qi's voice sounded. Chapter 341. The second test, Dark Demon World. Within 100 days, obtain 100 elementary dark demon cores and 30 elementary dark demon hearts. Because you possess the dark holy Qi, the difficulty of the mission has increased. Within 30 days, you will obtain 3 intermediate dark demon cores and 1 intermediate dark demon heart. The voice sounded indifferently. Lin Feng was slightly startled, but he did not care, because he knew that the purpose of the words was to affect his mood. However, the increase in the difficulty of the mission was real. As his voice fell, it was as simple and crisp as ever. Lin Feng silently recited it once, memorizing it in his heart. The good news was that compared to the first test, the second test would take a lot of time. The longer the time, the greater the chance of success. Moreover, possessing the dark holy Qi seemed to be a great convenience. However, I am unable to use the dark holy Qi. Lin Feng looked around. The gray color did indeed have a feeling of darkness, like a place where demons resided. Closing his eyes, the dark energy here was quite abundant, far surpassing other energies. There's a small problem, Lin Feng said softly. The abundance of dark energy meant that other energies were thin. For example, The wheel passage of Shiva Sek's temple had a single type of holy chi. This place was slightly better, but the Blue Thunder Holy Chi, Scarlet Fire Holy Chi, and even the True Dragon Holy Chi that he needed the most were far inferior to the 10,000 Lakes world. The advantage of possessing the Dark Holy Chi might not be as good as the disadvantage. Let's take a look around first. Lin Feng focused his mind. One thing he was sure of was that this dark demon world definitely had the existence of life outside the world. Ah, you are too ruthless. Ji Xinyuan sighed. How much you pay, how much you reap. His voice was calm and indifferent. I can understand temporarily putting away the dragon abyssal pearl. After all, there are various trading markets in the dark demon world. Ji Xinyuan frowned slightly. But isn't the increase in the difficulty of the mission a bit too great? Intermediate Dark Demon Core, Dark Demon Heart. You have to kill the Dark Demon Commander, which is equivalent to the Demon Lord level. That day, junior brother Feng Xian coincidentally met the Dark Demon Commander. He was killed. Ji Xinyuan shook his head and said, Junior brother's current strength is at most on par with junior brother Feng Xian. You think I'll play favorites? Qi said. Ji Xinyuan pursed his lips tightly. Based on the Qi I know, he wouldn't. Ji Xuanyuan's expression relaxed slightly. I will. You smiled freely. Ji Xinyuan smiled bitterly. If he can successfully pass the second test, I will be satisfied. Ji Xuanyuan's eyes shone brightly as he looked at the space passage leading to the dark demon world. His heartbeat quickened. Satisfied? Can you satisfy me? Junior brother, I don't know if this is a blessing or a curse. Ji Xinyuan thought to himself. Qi, Lin Feng dodged. It was a black vine with sharp barbs on it. Like a whip, the dark color was extremely eye-catching. Lin Feng activated the power of wind with his Bloodwalker's boots and slashed out with his 9 Serenity Thunderblade, trying to save as much blue lightning holy chi as possible. Chi, chi, chi. 3 clean and neat slashes, spring thunder eruption. The black vine was torn into pieces. Under the influence of the thunder energy, the black energy gradually dimmed. So powerful. Lin Feng's figure flashed and arrived in front of the black vine. He grabbed the main stem of the vine with one hand. In a split second, rich dark holy chi entered his body. The dark ball of light quickly absorbed it, as if it had eaten a full meal. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. 30 days. I think my dark holy chi can reach the 4th level. Feeling the disappearance of the black vine's energy, Lin Feng let go of his hand. This was a canyon. It was similar to the land on Earth. The only difference was that the plant life was more abundant. It was stronger and more violent. Plants were not the only ones that absorbed the dark energy to grow. There were also many monsters and even demon beasts. But without exception, they were all dark elemental. The energy of the universe determines the level of life. Lin Feng knew that if the humans on Earth were placed in the Wanhu world, many of them could easily break through to the legend rank. And the life in the dark demon world was definitely stronger than in the Wanhu world. Much stronger. It wasn't that the energy level in the dark demon world was higher, but it was essence. The life in the dark demon world absorbed the pure dark energy to grow. The life in the Wanhu world might have many ways to increase their strength. But in the dark demon world, the most powerful life was definitely the life with the dark holy chi. Even if they did not have the mental cultivation method, when the plant life reached a certain age, it would absorb abundant energy. For example, the black vine, just now, was comparable to a beginner demon beast. Since it is called the dark demon world, then there must be a dark demon. It sounded like a powerful demon. Lin Feng judged. As far as he knew, the demon race had a demon core. Mid-level dark demon cores were most likely from the so-called dark demons. He just did not know how powerful they were. But what is a mid-level dark demon core? Lin Feng was very curious. He scanned the entire canyon. There were all kinds of plant life, monsters and demon beasts, but there was no demon core in them. He remembered the mission requirements clearly. Within 30 days, he had to obtain 3 mid-level dark demon cores and 1 mid-level dark demon core. The Dark Demon Core was obviously much harder to obtain than the Dark Demon Core. Soon, Lin Feng left the canyon. He had explored all that he needed. Although there was still no Dark Demon Core or Dark Demon Core, at least he had some understanding of the Dark Demon world. He had also gained a lot. He found more than 10 sacred fruits that contained dark holy chi. The resources here were much more abundant than in the Wanhu world, and he had killed 3 dark-type demon beasts. Hard Skin, primary defense, can reach level 1, comparable to the Flaming Scale fruit. If it could be made into a saint garment, it would be compatible with the dark holy chi. Its defense would be good. It would be at least a mid-level sacred treasure. Lin Feng was not stupid. Since the skin of the Flaming Scale fruit could be made into a saint garment, the skin of the dark-type demon beast could also be made into a saint garment. Compared to the Crimson Fire Holy Chi, the Dark Holy Chi's defense might not be better, but at least he had a lot of Dark Holy Chi. On Earth, it is harder to get Holy Chi than to reach the sky. But in a world with the energy of the second universe, it is too easy to get Holy Chi. Lin Feng sighed and moved forward carefully. He focused. Compared to the Wanhu world, the Dark Demon world was much more dangerous. Plant life and demon beasts all had a strong sense of attack. This was also related to the characteristics of the dark-type energy. Even the sky is black. Lin Feng looked up. There was no day or night. There was only boundless dark energy that shrouded the planet. It was very strange. Soon, Lin Feng passed through the canyon and walked into a wilderness. Up ahead, he could vaguely make out a village. As he walked forward, he could hear a lot of noise. Many strange figures appeared in his line of sight. The Dark Demon Race. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. To be continued. Chapter 342. It was very noisy. Lin Feng crouched in the grass that was long enough to cover his body. In the Dark Demon world, even the grass was more than 1 meter long. The dark demons in front of him were also tall. The man had a bare upper body, dark skin, and bulging muscles. He was at least 2 meters tall. His face was ugly and ferocious, and he was barefoot. It was obvious that his body was extremely strong. The woman was even easier to recognize. Her body was full and curvy, like a devil. Every one of them was more than 7 meters tall, revealing strong thighs. Their skin wasn't dark like the male dark demons, but dark, shiny, and elastic. There were red and green lines on their arms, charming and enchanting. The dark demon girls were extremely beautiful, and there was not a single ugly one among them. Their beautiful eyes had a unique charm to them. At this time, the 2 dark demon youths were fighting. As their fists and feet collided, the dark holy chi exploded, shaking people's souls. It was obvious that they were strong. There were more than a dozen dark demon men and women watching, cheering from time to time. Their eyes flashed with excitement and bloodthirstiness. They were extremely crazy, belligerent. They are demons, but they're different from the Scythe demon. Lin Feng thought to himself. The Scythe demon's strongest point was the 2 scythes in his hands. The dark demon in front of him was most likely the dark holy chi. Their use of the dark holy chi was clear in their attack and defense, and it contained profound meaning. The 2 dark demon youths looked young, but their understanding of the profound meaning of darkness was much deeper than his. No wonder I have the dark holy chi and have the advantage in this test. If I can learn the profound meaning of darkness, my strength will definitely increase by a lot. It's just that. Lin Feng understood a little, but he still felt a little helpless. 30 days is not enough. He had comprehended the profound meaning in the Golden Secret Room in a day and a half. By the time he comprehended it here, the task would have been over. While he was thinking, suddenly, bang! Lin Feng's heart trembled. That feeling was like a prey being targeted. Among the dark demon experts, a beautiful and charming dark demon woman looked over, as if she could see through the deepest secrets in people's hearts. Devil! This thought emerged in Lin Feng's mind. In the next instant, his spine turned ice cold. Oh no, he had been discovered. #Yin. The woman from the Dark Devil sect spoke. Instantly, all the experts from the Dark Devil sect stopped. Their eyes were filled with suspicion and wariness as they stared at Lin Feng. Step. The dark demon female leader leaped up like a vigorous cheetah. Her charming eyes were filled with killing intent. Fight! There was no unnecessary nonsense. The first moment the dark demon woman saw Lin Feng, it was a massacre. The dark demon youths rushed over like giant beasts. The smiles of the dark demon girls carried a bewitching charm, especially when they saw Lin Feng. The one in the lead had a gaze that could charm all living things, causing even the heavens and earth to lose their color. Boom! Lin Feng's head shook violently. It was as if his consciousness had fallen, and his heart had stopped. In an instant, the surroundings became quiet, and the slaughter that filled the sky disappeared in an instant. What appeared before his eyes was a gentle and alluring figure of a woman. She was extremely enchanting and charming. Moving like a devil seduction. Break. Lin Feng's eyes widened. His heart was firm, and he naturally wouldn't be tempted. To him, who had been tempered since young, this kind of illusion was like a fleeting cloud. Lin Feng looked into the distance at the dark demon girl who was looking at him in shock. The 9-secret thunderblade in his hand emitted lightning, and the blue lightning Saint Chi was activated. Pong! The blade fell, and Lin Feng quickly retreated. Escape! 1 against a dozen, there was no need to be brave. Especially the dark demon race experts. Their strength was very strange. The dark demon male was about the same as a normal demon race expert, with a strong body. His battle strength was valiant, and he grew up in this dark demon world with a strong dark Saint Chi, including the profound meaning of darkness. The truly shocking one was the dark demon girl. Her eyes could bring him into an illusion world, and if he was careless, he would fall for it. He might be able to break through it, but 1 against a dozen, Lin Feng wasn't confident. Looking at the strength of the dark demon race. Among the 17 dark demon experts, 5 of them are at the demon general level, which is beyond the legend level. Lin Feng shivered inwardly. The 2 dark demon youths he fought earlier should be junior demon generals, but their bodies and battle strength were far beyond their level. As for the dark demon girl who discovered him, she was the strongest and should be a senior demon general. As for the other 12 dark demon experts, the weakest one was at the legend level. I'm afraid this is just the tip of the iceberg of the dark demon world. Lin Feng knew very well that a world with such strong dark energy would definitely not only have demon generals, it would definitely have demon supremacies or even demon kings. Although they aren't from the dark demon planet, it seems that all the demons are the same. Warlike, bloodthirsty, cold-blooded, and merciless. Lin Feng held the 9-secret thunderblade in his hand. The setback in the first battle didn't discourage him. Instead, it made him more excited, and his blood boiled. Half an hour later. This is the dark demon core. In Lin Feng's hand was a shattered black crystal core. He could vaguely feel the energy hidden in the crystal core. It was the essence of the dark demon expert. The dark holy chi hidden in it was even more powerful than his heart of darkness. Lin Feng's eyes fell on the bloodstains on the ground and the dark demon man, who was shattered along with the dark demon core. He frowned slightly. He had self-detonated. The self-detonation before his death didn't give him any benefits. Lin Feng had some understanding of the demon race. The demon race's body was very strong, just like a human-shaped demon beast. They had intelligence that was not inferior to humans and had a very strong self-healing ability, especially the demon race who had a demon core. For example, the sickle demon's right arm was chopped off by him, but it grew back like a gecko's tail. Lin Feng continued hunting. Pung, pung, pung. The self-detonation made Lin Feng feel helpless again and again. Not far from the village, Lin Feng quickly passed through a dense forest, thinking of a solution. It wasn't difficult to kill the dark demon expert. The difficult part was how to stop them from self-detonating. Otherwise, it would be useless no matter how many dark demon experts he killed. Along the way, Lin Feng carefully avoided the dark demon experts, especially when he saw the female dark demons. He avoided them as much as he could. Their senses were quite strong. The dark demon clan seems to have increased in number. Lin Feng leaped up, using the giant tree as cover. Noises came from the front. It was the language of the Dark Demon race. Another team of Dark Demon race was coming. The leader of the Dark Demon race was wearing pitch-black armor. His aura was ferocious and violent, far stronger than any Dark Demon expert he had seen before. Demon Lord, Lin Feng immediately judged and held his breath. But in the next moment, Lin Feng widened his eyes and looked in disbelief. What did he see? Chapter 343. That was a human. Although their appearance was different from the Chinese, their skin was dark in color and emitted a dark aura. Their facial features were completely human. However, they were being escorted like slaves. Their hair was messy, their cheeks were pale and colorless, and the bloodstains on their clothes could be faintly seen. It was a long line. There were at least a few hundred humans, male, female, old, and young. Beside the line, there were 7 or 8 strong dark demon men holding thorny whips, cursing and lashing out from time to time. Their faces were filled with pleasure and disdain. This scene made Lin Feng's heart ache, even if they weren't humans from Earth or China, but he felt the same way. There are a few humans with the strength of a legend ranker. Lin Feng's heart sank. He could vaguely feel the strength of their aura. These humans weren't weak. A few of them were legend rankers, while the rest were Sea King and Savage rankers. Lin Feng understood that he couldn't judge the strength of the Dark Demon world based on the strength of Earth. None wrong. Even plant life here could surpass legend rankers if they lived long enough, let alone humans. With natural growth, breaking through to Savage rankers was easy. Take the Dark Demon race, for example. It had been 5 to 6 hours since he entered the Dark Demon world, but he still hadn't seen any dark demons below Savage rankers. These humans seemed to be imprisoned by a mysterious force. Lin Feng thought. It was as if they were bound by souls. There was a pitch-black imprint on their foreheads. Lin Feng instantly thought of the female dark demon. She had an extremely terrifying talent in soul arts and was able to use the power of darkness in a different way. She was completely different from the male dark demon. Save them? Lin Feng naturally wouldn't do that. With his strength, going against the dark demon leader was like hitting a rock with an egg. He wasn't a saint and didn't have the strength to change all of this. This was the law of survival, just like the humans and monsters on Earth. If humans were strong, monsters would die. If monsters were strong, humans would die. The logic was simple. Obviously, in the dark demon world, the dark demons were stronger than humans. Since there are humans captured and enslaved, there are old and young among them. This means that there are other humans in the dark demon world. Lin Feng thought. Humans were the same as monsters. They had great survivability and adaptability. The difference was that humans relied on their brains to adapt to the environment. The direction the Dark Devil tribe is heading in is definitely the direction of the Dark Devil tribe. Lin Feng patiently waited for the Dark Devil tribe to leave. They walked in the opposite direction. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. He already had a clear goal in mind. Find the human race. This would be the breakthrough point of the second trial. It was very difficult. The Dark Devil race wasn't stupid, especially the female Dark Devil race. She had a similar innate soul, so she was naturally smart. If even they couldn't find the hiding place of the humans, one could imagine. Lin Feng searched for an entire day, but he still couldn't find any clues. Instead, he killed quite a few dark demon experts. Dark magic core. He had also collected 7 of them. A complete dark magic core. I still have to rely on the magic cube sacred treasure. Lin Feng put away the dark demon core. On the ground, there was a dark demon expert who died with his eyes wide open. He was killed by a sneak attack from behind. He didn't even have time to self-destruct. The magic cube sacred treasure directly attacked the soul. Against enemies weaker than him, it was always effective. But in the Dark Devil world, the true dragon holy power recovered too slowly. I wonder what rank these dark demon cores are. Lin Feng thought. His experience told him that the 7 dark demon cores he had collected should be elementary dark demon cores. It had been mentioned in the mission. The original mission was to collect 100 elementary dark demon cores, but now it was to collect 3 intermediate dark demon cores. These 7 dark demon cores are of different sizes, but there is no difference in their energy. The so-called intermediate Dark Devil Core is most likely a Devil Lord Dark Devil Core. Lin Feng understood that this was the most suitable estimate for his mission. But to complete it was harder than ascending to the heavens. Wait until I find the human race. They might have a way. Lin Feng continued to search. The Dark Devil world is wide. Although there are forests and valleys, there are Dark Devil experts everywhere. Where can I hide? Lin Feng thought carefully as he ran. If it was him, how would he hide and find a place to settle down? The humans of the Dark Devil world didn't just hide for a day or two. They couldn't just find a place to hide. For example, caves and valleys. These were only temporary measures. Sooner or later, the Dark Devil experts would find them. Dig a tunnel in the mountains? Lin Feng thought. It was a good idea. There was another world in the mountains. Unless the entire mountain was moved, it would be hard to find. But if he could think of it, how could the Dark Devil race not think of it? River. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. When it came to hiding, he was quite familiar with it. Using the river to hide underground is even better than hiding in the mountains. Lin Feng thought, there are other tunnels around. Unlike in the mountains, once I am found, I will be like a turtle in a jar. Also, the underground area is bigger. It will be hard to find. The underground area of the Dark Devil world was as big as the land. Even if the Dark Devil race knew that the humans were hiding underground, unless the entire Dark Devil world was pried up, the humans would be like weeds. The possibility is more than 80%. Lin Feng nodded. A new problem appeared. If the Dark Devil experts couldn't find the humans, how could he find them? Entering the river, Lin Feng searched for a long time. He found many river entrances, but all of them were dead ends. On the contrary, the monsters in the river were even more terrifying. Some of them were even stronger than the Dark Moon Roar. After several probing, Lin Feng gave up. He couldn't find an entrance in the river. On the land, it was like a blind man crossing a river. He couldn't find the end. The clues were cut off again. If there is a chance, I will find the humans again. This road is hard to pass. I can't waste any more time. Lin Feng sped through a wilderness area. It had been 3 days since he entered the Dark Devil world. Other than obtaining a few Dark Devil cores and Dark Attribute holy fruits, the mission was still far away. One had to know that the difficulty of his test was higher than others. There were only 27 days left. Moreover, even if he found the humans, he still had to complete the mission. There must be a way. Lin Feng's eyes were dark. He believed that the Dark Devil's test wouldn't leave a trap for him to jump into. He was just walking into a maze and couldn't find a way out. But it didn't mean that there was no way out. The Thousand Lake world was like this. The more I see in this world, the greater the chance. Lin Feng thought of the test in the Thousand Lake world and made up his mind. The road was walked. While moving, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Looking at the bustling scene in front of him, he clenched his fist. Yes, this is it. I should have thought of it. To be continued. Chapter 344. In a huge mine, the black crystal ores were piled up like mountains, surrounded by large sheds. Outside the mine, one could clearly see the Dark Demon Clan rankers. His majestic body had muscles that were like mountains. The leader of the Dark Demon Clan rankers was dressed in black armor and was over 3 meters tall. Demon Lord level. Lin Feng could already tell that although it was not necessarily accurate, the body of the Dark Demon Clan rankers would strengthen as their strength increased. They were generally over 2 meters tall, but the Demon Lord level Dark Demon rankers were often over 3 meters tall, and their bodies were even stronger. Of course, it was the men of the Dark Demon Clan. The security is so tight. In this mine, there should be crystals that are useful to the Dark Demon Clan rankers. Lin Feng thought. Although he didn't know what it was for, it was obviously a good thing. Just like the Dragon Abyssal Pearl he obtained in the 10,000 Lakes world, he also didn't know about it because he didn't have enough experience. Most of the miners in the mine are humans. Lin Feng sighed in his heart. Here, he could hear the angry scolding and whipping of the Dark Demon rankers. At this moment, he finally understood why the Dark Demon rankers enslave humans. Just like how humans once enslaved all kinds of wild animals, dogs, cows, horses, and so on. I really can't find the hiding place of the humans. But they know. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Sometimes, the problem didn't need to be so complicated. Whiz. Lin Feng left. Barging into the mine to save people? Lin Feng wasn't that stupid. He could save people, but he couldn't save himself. Right now, he had two choices. First, sneak into the mine and become a miner. However, it was too difficult to achieve. Moreover, every enslaved human he saw last time had an imprint planted in their soul. Second, wait for an opportunity. On Earth, there used to be many similar mines. Lin Feng quietly sped outside the mine, searching everywhere. Miners. She lived a miserable life and ate the worst food. If they don't hand over enough ores, not only will they not be able to eat, they will also be beaten up. Every day, miners die and are thrown in the mass grave to feed the wild dogs. Lin Feng carefully investigated. Outside the mine, the level of danger was not that high, but after searching round after round, he did not find anything that resembled a mass grave. Am I wrong? Lin Feng frowned. Suddenly, he clenched his fists. Blue veins popped out on his forehead. I forgot. They are demons. Demons that eat people without spitting out their bones. Lin Feng's eyes darkened. Outside the mine, Lin Feng was like a patient hunter, waiting for his prey to come to him. Every day, there would be miners dying. Naturally, there would be new miners to replace them. Lin Feng was gambling. He was gambling on time. He was gambling on the fact that the one who delivered the miners was not a demon lord. However, he did not put all his eggs in the same basket. He had been looking for other opportunities to complete the mission. Outside the mine, Lin Feng had already familiarized himself with the environment. This was a nearly closed canyon. There was only one path and entrance, but behind the mine was a long river. In fact, he had crossed the river to come here, but he did not expect that there would be a mine on the other side of the river. Lin Feng scouted the back of the mine. There was no one there. After waiting for 2 days, it would be a lie to say that he was not anxious. After all, time was limited. If there was no shortage of manpower in a mine, or if they only replenished the miners once every 2 or 3 months, he would have waited for nothing. As he pondered, Lin Feng stepped on the thick mud and stone ground and smiled. They all say that there are often miners digging tunnels in the mine. Why can't I touch it? Lin Feng actually understood. The miners were strictly monitored, especially when excavating a mine that even a dark demon lore valued. They wanted to dig a tunnel. It was more than difficult. Wait, Lin Feng was startled. His eyes lit up. Digging a tunnel. From the inside to the outside, it is indeed very difficult. But from the outside to the inside, it was different. Furthermore, I can dig a few more paths. Even if I'm discovered, even if I'm chased by demon venerables, I'll be able to stall for time and escape into the river. Lin Feng carefully analyzed the possibilities. Although it wasn't foolproof, the probability was very high. Instead of putting my hopes on luck, why not? Let's take a risk. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Setting the entrance of the tunnel at the shallow shore. Firstly, there was no need to hide. Secondly, it was easy and convenient to escape into the river. Digging the tunnel was easy at first. However, the deeper he went, the harder the stones became until he reached the middle. Lin Feng's dark holy aura was like a stone sinking into the sea. He used all his strength. It was like punching cotton. He used the dark holy aura again, but did not cause any ripples. Lin Feng placed his hand on the black stone in front of him. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. The crimson fire holy aura blasted out. Crack! The black rock shattered, revealing a black, translucent crystal. Holy crystal? Lin Feng was slightly surprised. The black crystal in front of him was similar to the holy crystal that trapped Xiangyu, but the energy it contained was very different. I see. Feeling the rich, dark, holy aura stored in the black crystal, Lin Feng suddenly understood. 90% of the dark holy aura was absorbed by the dark holy crystal. The energy contained in the dark holy crystal was very large. It was like a bottomless abyss. If I'm not wrong, there should be a lot of dark holy crystals in this mine. Lin Feng thought of the demon primogenitors he saw. Almost every one of them was wearing black armor that was similar to the dark holy crystal. Everything in the world had its own spiritual chi. There were all kinds of elemental crystals on Earth. In the dark demon world, there were all kinds of dark holy crystals. Actually, for me, the dark demon world is a rare place for cultivation, Lin Feng thought to himself. If I don't have a mission to complete, he continued to dig. For those who only cultivated the dark holy aura, it was difficult to dig out the ores here. However, for Lin Feng, other than the dark holy aura, he had many other methods. Even if these ordinary stones were stronger than the Earth's S-class defense, they were nothing to him now. I found 23 dark holy crystals. Lin Feng was very satisfied. This was much more than the dark energy store in plants. In terms of energy, each of these dozens of dark holy crystals could be counted as a holy treasure. The tunnel was dug very carefully. Lin Feng didn't make any noise. He only used his holy aura to open the way. Even so, a day of digging was enough for him to enter the mine area. Ding, 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 ding. Down below, Lin Feng could clearly hear the sounds of mining. He could hear the exhausted gasps of the human miners, as well as the angry shouts of the dark demon race experts. It was enough to imagine just how miserable the humans were inside the mines. As for the exit of the tunnel, it was easy. There are some dark holy crystals, but there is no sound of mining. There is also no aura of the dark demon race. Lin Feng knew very well that there were generally two possibilities in such a place. One was an unexcavated mine, and the other was a fully excavated mine. Compared to other places, it was safer. Bang! Lin Feng's dark holy aura condensed, and the top broke open. Lin Feng jumped out. He had already sensed the surroundings. There was no aura of life, including humans and dark demons. But, Chapter 345. Densely packed, they were piled up like a mountain. They weren't dark-type St. crystals, but some mixed crystals and small crystals. Different from ores, these crystals also contained dark energy, but compared to dark-type St. crystals, the difference was more than 100 times. For example, newly mined iron ore was full of impurities. The true iron element probably didn't even reach 1%, but there were a lot of them. It wasn't just one mountain, but several mountains piled up. To the Dark Demon clan, it's like chicken ribs, tasteless, but a pity to throw it away. Lin Feng was clear that dark-type St. crystals were being mined in large quantities, so these crystals with thin energy were naturally useless. But this was the Dark Demon world. What would happen on Earth? It would be an inestimable amount of wealth. It would be worth more than 10. Even 100 dark-type St. crystals would be of great use to him. But right now, let's leave it for now. Lin Feng was not an insatiably greedy person. He clearly understood the current situation. He had snuck in stealthily, and once he was discovered, he would have no other choice but to flee. A demon lord was not someone he could fight against. Right now, there was no need to cause more trouble and affect the plan. There, Lin Feng's figure flashed, not wasting any time. Here, the longer he stayed, the greater the danger. Clang! Zhong! The sound of digging, panting, and whipping echoed in the mine. Lin Feng wandered around like a ghost. The entire mine was connected in all directions. There were many small paths. The light wasn't strong, but it was enough for the Dark Demon clan experts to supervise the human miners. There are more than 100 supervisors. There are about 5,000 miners. Lin Feng quickly determined. In the mine, the strongest Dark Demon clan expert was a high-level demon general. Below, there were 2 mid-level demon generals in charge of the entire mine, and 10 low-level demon generals in charge of different areas. Every low-level demon general had about 10 demon soldiers. They held whips and wantonly whipped the human miners, urging them to work. Every human miner was closely watched by the demon soldiers, divided by area. There were no blind spots. The 10 low-level demon generals were constantly patrolling, not only guarding against the human miners, but also supervising the demon soldiers. Oh, Lin Feng frowned slightly. Methods were thought of by people. Even the tightest defense would have flaws. Since the security is so tight, there is no slack at all. Then I'll create chaos. Lin Feng thought to himself. The entrance to the tunnel was on the west side. He only needed to launch an attack on the east side and kill a low-level MO general and MO soldier. The human miners guarding the tunnel would definitely fall into chaos and cause the other MO soldiers and MO generals to panic. A single stone stirred up 1,000 ripples. The entire mine was soon in chaos, and most of it was in the west. At that time, he would be able to take advantage of the chaos and return to the western tunnel entrance with the help of the chaotic passages in the mine. By the time the Dark Demon Clan experts finished organizing the mine, he had already left. Lin Feng came up with a plan. But now, chi! A mournful sound of something tearing through the air rang out. As the Dark Demon race cursed, the thorny whips lashed out. Up ahead in the mine tunnel, an old man who was so thin that he was only skin and bones fell into a pool of blood before he could even make a sound. His hands were trembling, and there was not a trace of blood on his skin. It was obvious that his life force had already dried up. The surrounding human miners all had sympathetic looks on their faces, but they did not dare to act rashly. Only a thin, dark-skinned girl around the age of 10, with a bamboo basket on her back, ran towards the old man, crying. But before she could reach him, she stumbled and was wrapped around by the thorny whips. She fell heavily to the ground. A few dark saint crystals fell from the bamboo basket. Behind her, the Dark Demon Race supervisor cursed. Chi! 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 The thorny whips filled the air and landed on the thin, dark-skinned girl. Her small face was covered in tears. Her small, calloused hands wanted to reach out to the old man, but they were so far away. The Dark Demon Race supervisor's eyes flashed fiercely as he whipped the thin, dark-skinned girl. The girl bit her lips until they turned purple, but she stubbornly did not make a sound. Plop! Plop! Her tears fell out of her longing and heartache for the old man. Every drop fell into Lin Feng's heart. God damn it! Lin Feng clenched his fists so hard that his veins popped out. Looking at this scene, his heart felt like it was being cut by 1,000 knives. He knew what was going to happen next. This little girl was only 10 years old and could not bear this kind of torture. But if he went out to save her now, his plan would be ruined. His whereabouts would be exposed, and he would be in big trouble. Pa! The whip made the girl spit out blood. Pa! In less than half a second, the whip fell again, and the girl's entire body was whipped into the air. Her widened eyes were filled with deep stubbornness and sadness. Blood splattered in this mine. From the beginning to the end, the girl did not cry out in pain or beg for mercy even once. Pa! The third whip. The whip lashed out fiercely, but it landed on a dark figure. Lin Feng grabbed the thorny whip with one hand and clenched his fists tightly. His heart was filled with anger and his blood was boiling. He was very calm, but he was also a person with 7 emotions and 6 desires. He was a real person. He could not bear it anymore. Because Lin Feng knew that if he did not act, he would regret it for the rest of his life as he watched the little girl in front of him being whipped to death. The demon soldier of the Dark Demon Clan was stunned. He did not know where this human came from. But in an instant, dying, Lin Feng's thunderblade caused thunder to explode. Spring thunderstorm. Boom! The blade fell, not giving the demon soldier any time to react. His body was split in two and blood spurted out. The demon soldier of the Dark Demon Clan widened his eyes in shock. He did not know what happened even before he died. In front of Lin Feng, he was too weak. However, the intense clanging sound shook the entire mine. Shocking flames. The mine shook, and the miners shouted in shock. It was as if a volcano had erupted. In an instant, at the end of the mine, the demon general of the Dark Demon Clan, who was in charge of this area, attacked with a mournful howl. Lin Feng grabbed the little girl with one hand, and the thunderblade in his hand flashed with lightning. Since the matter had become big, then let's make it bigger. Heavenly thunder, slaying true dragon. Lin Feng immediately acted. The ball of lightning split into two into four into 8. While protecting the little girl, he also perfectly condensed his power. The anger in his heart drove Lin Feng's powerful blade. The thunderous roar pierced through the mine. Bang! 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 Mountains of ores collapsed one after another. Lin Feng's blade was like the scythe of the death god. The dark demon generals were directly beheaded. Their miserable screams were accompanied by the explosions of their dark demon cores, causing the entire mine area to explode. Heavy thunder hell. Lin Feng attacked the dark crystal mine again. The dark crystal mine absorbed dark holy chi, but did not block the power of thunder and lightning at all. The rumbling continued, and the sounds of collapsing buildings were accompanied by cries of alarm and the angry roars of the Dark Demon Clan experts. Lin Feng had already disappeared in this chaos. To be continued. Chapter 346. In the tunnel, Lin Feng took the girl and ran quickly. The girl didn't faint, but she was shocked. She thought she would die with her grandfather, but she didn't expect such a thing to happen. Lin Feng could clearly hear the chaotic noises above the mine. The roars of the Dark Demon Clan were like thunder in his ears. I hope the Dark Demon Clan is slow to react. Lin Feng thought. Escaping through the tunnel was within his expectations. When he entered the tunnel, he even stole a few crystal mountains and destroyed the ground to seal the exit. Now he was worried that the Dark Demon Clan would react too quickly and guard the entire mine. At that time, he wouldn't be able to escape. His prophecy came true. Lin Feng finally understood what it meant to say that good things didn't come true and bad things did. When he was still some distance away from the entrance, he could already feel the dense aura above the tunnel. Lin Feng also understood that the Dark Demon Clan wasn't stupid. The entire mine was airtight, and even a mosquito couldn't fly in. There was only one flaw: the river behind the canyon. The mine wasn't built on the first day, and he wasn't the first one to walk this path. Clang! Lin Feng's heart trembled, and his face changed. Even underground, he could feel the tyrannical feeling in his heart. It was like a pair of transparent eyes staring at him. That was the Dark Demon Concubine, an expert with a tyrannical soul energy. And the Dark Demon Concubine who had locked onto him was the first Dark Demon Concubine he had seen. It was more than 10 times stronger. Demon Senior Rank. This is troublesome. Lin Feng's heart trembled, but there was no regret in his eyes. Even if the same thing happened again, he would still make the same decision. There were things a man could do and things he couldn't do. Some things couldn't be seen. Since she can lock onto my position, then the entrance must be exposed. The river must be heavily guarded. If I force my way in, only death will await me. Lin Feng thought. Not to mention this Demon Senior Rank Dark Demon Concubine, just the Dark Demon Senior Rank expert he had seen before. It was enough to make him suffer. Back to the mine, Lin Feng knew that he had no other choice. In the next second, countless Dark Demon experts would rush in from the entrance. Stay in the secret passage. He would only force himself into a desperate situation like a turtle in a jar. Indeed, he could immediately open a new passage and enter the river, but the Dark Devil Concubine was still there. Let me have no secrets to speak of. No matter where he ran, he would be locked down. Go. Lin Feng had no way out and was forced to return the way he came. In the mine, he would still be locked onto, but there were countless mines in the mine which were natural obstacles. Even if his position was locked onto, it was only the Dark Devil Concubine who was at the Demon Lord level. With his speed, movement techniques, and his own strength, he might not necessarily be in a hopeless situation. But Lin Feng looked at the girl in his arms. His face was a little dark, but his eyes were clear and bright. Although there was a language barrier, communication was the most direct. Looking at the gratitude and worry in the girl's eyes, Lin Feng smiled and patted the girl's head. In an instant, the dark holy chi cut open a path like a knife, and Lin Feng's body suddenly sank down. Bang! A small space was instantly formed. Pa! Lin Feng instantly placed the capsule house, supported the space, and pointed to the ground. He signaled the girl to wait for him here. The girl's dark face nodded vigorously, revealing a pale smile. Then, she obediently entered the capsule house and looked at Lin Feng reluctantly. Wait for me. Lin Feng said 2 words. He didn't care if the girl understood him or not. His body suddenly jumped up, and the dark holy chi blew up the passage, blocking the way. Lin Feng knew that what he was about to face was a real fierce battle. He couldn't bring the girl along. It was a gamble. If he could survive, then the girl could also survive. If he was unlucky and died here, no, I will definitely survive. Lin Feng's eyes were firm and persistent, surging with an unyielding fighting spirit. For himself, and even more for this lonely and helpless little girl. He couldn't lose. Back to the tunnel. The exit in the mine had already been blocked and collapsed by him. But this was even better. Losing the target was what Lin Feng really wanted. He could still feel the soul lock. It was the demon Lord Dark Demon Concubine. As he returned to the tunnel, she also entered the mine. Fight to the death. There aren't many chances. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. The more dangerous the situation was, the more he needed peace of mind to make the right decision. The men and women of the Dark Demon clan focused on different things. For example, the men cultivated the Earth's soul and fought in close combat. The women cultivated the talent soul and fought in illusions. They were both at the Demon Lord level, but their fighting strength was different. It's hard for me to fight against the Demon Lord level Dark Demon male. Although the Demon Lord level Dark Demon Concubine's attacks are strange, they are mostly illusions, attacks on the soul and will. In terms of soul strength, I have the protection of the third layer of the True Dragon Saint Force. In terms of will and resistance to illusions, I am not afraid. One-on-one, I can beat her. As long as I can get rid of the threat of the Demon Lord level Dark Demon Concubine, I will have a lot of room to escape. Lin Feng analyzed clearly. Although the Demon Lord level Dark Demon male was strong, in terms of soul strength and senses, he was far inferior to him. The chance of survival was very slim, but it was definitely there. The moment he broke through the ground and appeared. At that time, he would definitely not be surrounded. Because other than the Dark Demon Concubine, the other Dark Demon experts couldn't accurately determine his location. Once he entered the mine, his whereabouts would be exposed, and it would be harder for him to kill the Dark Demon Concubine. Right now, all the Dark Demon experts were like a group of hunters chasing after their prey, but they didn't expect to be the prey. A counterattack. Lin Feng was very patient. He continued to move under the mine, changing his position. Although there were already some Dark Demon experts who went deep into the ground, trying to catch a turtle in a jar, they obviously overestimated their own strength. Lin Feng's eyes flashed, secretly accumulating strength, waiting for the best opportunity. He had already given the Demon Lord level Dark Demon Concubine an illusion that he didn't dare to show his face. Right now, it was a competition of patience. Opportunities had to be created, and they had to be waited for. The continuous failure to encircle and suppress Lin Feng was also a burden to the Dark Demon Concubine. At first, she was still wary of this human, but time and time again, Lin Feng hid underground and didn't come out, like a cornered prey. Slowly, the Dark Demon Concubine let down her guard. The more she wanted to catch Lin Feng, the more anxious she was, the more she put herself in danger. She brought herself into an extremely dangerous situation. Now, Lin Feng, who was underground, finally found the best opportunity. Pung! The thunder blade in his hand activated the power of thunder and lightning. In an instant, the dark holy chi that had been accumulating for a long time suddenly exploded, blasting the entire ground above, causing the Dark Demon Concubine to cry out in alarm, her delicate face pale. Lin Feng shot out from the ground, the 9U thunder blade roaring with thunder, directly towards the Dark Demon Concubine.